Tension hangs heavy over Qingtang Academy as the annual awakening ceremony kicks off. The first girl steps up, places her trembling hand on the monolith, and pulls a measly C-tier talent. Her face instantly drops, entirely crushed by the massive letdown. The crowd groans in secondhand embarrassment. Meanwhile, our main boy John Han is sweating bullets, praying he doesn't fumble his own awakening. Right on cue, Han's girlfriend Xiao Mei gets called up to the podium. The second her fingers graze the stone, a blinding shockwave erupts, stealing the spotlight even from her top-tier aesthetics. As the dust clears, the system announces she just secured an S-rank spirit, the bloodstained silver spear, a straight-up immortal fairy spirit. The entire courtyard loses their collective minds, practically screaming, because it feels like forever since anyone at Qingtang pulled an S-tier bond. To make things even more broken, her spirit flexes two unique traits. And since another guy already snagged an S-rank bond earlier, the student body starts plotting, claiming those two teaming up would make an absolute god squad. But someone quickly shuts the hype down, pointing out that Mei is already taken. They barely finish gossiping before Mei marches straight up to Han and drops an absolute bombshell. Without skipping a beat, she dumps him right then and there, coldly stating they are no longer in the same league. She violently shoves him away, warning him to lose her number forever, leaving Han drowning in pure public humiliation. Han stands there completely mute, but plot twist, he honestly could not care less. The era of him being a clueless simp, constantly begging for her validation, is officially over. Truth is, Mei treated him like absolute garbage their entire toxic relationship. Wildly enough, Han actually got isekai'd into this universe. And ever since he crossed over, his mindset has totally leveled up. The other guys instantly start pressing him, hurling insults and threatening to beat him down if he ever breathes in Mei's direction again. Annoyed, Han snaps back, asking why they are acting so brain-dead when he is about to roll his own S-rank spirit anyway. They immediately burst out laughing, roasting him for being completely delusional. Even his ex joins the dogpile to brutally dunk on him. Right in the middle of their trash talk, the announcer screams out Han's name. Fueled by pure spite, he strides up to the stage and slaps his hand on the monolith. Dead silence. The ancient stone does not even spark, and the haters immediately start howling with laughter. Mei sneers, calling him a pathetic failure who cannot even pull a trash-tier spirit, let alone an S rank. The crowd starts glazing Mei, hyping up her dodging a massive bullet by dropping a complete zero like Han. Suddenly, a cataclysmic shockwave shatters the silence, erupting into a blinding sun-level flash. The sheer pressure of his aura practically peels the skin straight off their faces. Squinting through the hurricane of light, the students frantically guess what kind of monster, but they are not even close. When the screen updates, Han awakens a triple S-tier spiritual contract. An absolute god-level awakening. Mei's jaw hits the concrete, completely paralyzed by the insane reality check. Dropping a triple S masterclass is a legendary event that only happens once every century. She is entirely mind-blown that her so-called useless ex just secured. The peanut gallery is left choking on their words, totally shook that Han just hit the ultimate jackpot. Overnight, Han just became the absolute apex predator because triple S rankers literally rewrite the laws of reality. For context, the last time a triple S ranker spawned, they single-handedly flipped the script on the brutal war against the ravenous insect horde, basically saving the human race from total extinction. Honestly, humanity would have straight up won the entire conflict if that legend had not died way too young. Han barely steps off the platform before every girl in the academy swarms him like feral wolves, aggressively begging to be his spirit. One girl even pitches herself by bragging about her massive closet of cosplay outfits, promising to switch up her look for him every single day. But Han coldly waves off the desperate crowd, telling them to back up because he is nowhere near ready to draft his team. He simply turns his back and walks away, knowing these thirsty extras are nothing but a... Without wasting another second, Han pulls up his glowing system panel to check out his fresh, overpowered stats. His new powers are absolutely broken, blending divine insight, perfect observation, and total harmony with Heaven's Way. With divine insight, he basically gets a cheat code to scan every single hidden detail of any spirit contract. He can literally awaken dormant divine spirits and restore them to their absolute prime. On top of that, his observation passive instantly doubles all of his contract's base stats. But the craziest part, Heaven's Way totally removes his limit cap, meaning he can hoard an endless arsenal of spirit contracts. It barely takes a second for his ex Mei to come crawling back begging for a second chance, now that he just pulled a god-tier awakening. Flashing his new skill, he scans right through her underlying stats. Thanks to divine insight, her true colors, and every hidden flaw, reading his silence as an opening, she leans in for a kiss, but Han curbs her on the spot without a shred of hesitation. Brushing her off, he strolls through the courtyard, firing up his god's eye to scout for an actually worthy partner. A massive crowd of girls immediately swarms him, practically begging to be picked, while brutally throwing shade at the campus idol Xiao Yuwei, who just pulled a trash-tier E-rank spirit. The mean girls are absolutely convinced her life is over, since nobody in their right mind would ever carry a flop who bombed the evaluation exams. Hot tears stream down Yuei's cheeks as she spirals into despair, crushed by the toxic bullying just because she drew the shortest end of the stick. Squeezing her eyes shut to hold back the crying, she storms off, only to slam face first straight into Han's chest. He swiftly catches her by the waist before she hits the pavement, offering a soft apology. His gaze drifts over her system panel, confirming that she really did trigger a bottom-tier E-rank awakening. But there's a massive twist hiding beneath the surface. This so-called trash talent is actually the Fuxi Qin, one of the top 10 legendary ancient artifacts. His jaw practically drops. He realizes his unique upgrading abilities can easily break her limits and unlock her true good-slaying potential. Catching him completely zoned out, Yuei nervously asks if everything is okay. Han drops an absolute bombshell, declaring right then and there that he wants her as his bonded spirit, leaving her completely paralyzed in shock. The crowd of fangirls collectively gasps, completely unable to They immediately start losing their minds, demanding to know why a prodigy would ever chain himself to a certified dead weight. Right before the mob can trigger a full-blown riot, Principal Chen Guangpu steps onto the scene to shut it down. He pulls Han aside, sighing that he totally gets the urge to simp for a gorgeous face like Yuei's. But he strictly warns the kid that locking in a soul bond is a huge gamble. And the old man locks eyes with him, hammering home that Han is now the ultimate beacon of hope for their entire continent, and that he carries the heavy burden of wiping out the monstrous insect hordes to snatch their Yuei painfully nods, along with the principal whispering that her pathetic stats simply don't deserve to hold him back. Suddenly, the heavy-hitting guardian of Deep Blue City Zhao Hu, who also happens to be Mei's he violently stomps over, pointing a finger at Han, and barking that he's abusing his SSS rank status to publicly humiliate his precious goddaughter. The massive dude blatantly threatens our boy, growling at him to watch his back, because if this elite guardian decides to pull strings and make his life miserable, there won't be a single place left for him to hide. Mei flashes a toxic smirk from the sidelines, smugly telling Han to get on his knees, apologize, and just sign the contract with her already. Instead, Han shoots her a look of pure, unfiltered disgust, coldly asking what makes a two-faced snake like her. That savage roast makes Hu completely lose his temper, but right as he winds up for a lethal backhand, the principal catches his wrist mid-air. Chen commands the hothead to stand down firmly, reminding him that Han's unmatched potential makes him absolutely untouchable. Plus, he drops the ultimate flex, the high command, forcing a fake smile. Guardian Hu sneers that he'll let the disrespect slide, on the strict condition that Han actually seals the deal with the E-rank girl. In reality, he's secretly praying for the kid to rebel, just so he has an excuse to completely destroy him on the spot. Unfazed, Han boldly announces that he's locking in with Yuei no matter what, and absolutely nobody has the power to change his mind. He gently takes the trembling girl's hands, guiding her forward so they can officially forge their soul link. She chokes out a tearful apology for dragging him into her mess, but he looks her deep in the eyes, swearing that she's worth every single risk. The second they connect, Han ignites his hidden upgrade skills to forge the bond. An ultra-blinding surge of golden energy explodes. When the dust settles, the ritual is a flawless victory, morphing her spirit form into an ancient sword-like mythical weapon, resting perfectly in his grip. Jin Han's jaw practically hits the floor. He is staring at the soul contract interface, totally stunned, because this thing is a flawless hybrid of offensive firepower and pure support tech. It is basically a god-tier loadout with zero blind spots. Post-awakening, Yuei is absolutely hyperventilating. She just leaped from a pathetic E-tier straight to a SSS rank. She throws herself into Han's arms, crying and hyping him up for completely flipping her script. Meanwhile, across town, Mei is throwing a massive tantrum to Hu. She is demanding he pay up, crying about how Han absolutely dragged her name through the mud. Hu just smirks, brushing off her drama. He tells her to chill out, reminding her that Han just chained himself to an E-class spirit. His potential is utterly cooked. Basically, his future is dead on arrival. He swears he is going to make Han's life a walking nightmare in this city. Then he leans in and drops the real tea, revealing that tomorrow's spirit contract assessment is already rigged. The deck is completely stacked against Han. Hu flexes his massive ego, bragging that he runs these streets. In his mind, he is practically the final boss of the city. Mai practically purrs her thanks, but Hu gives her that look. He wants his payment up front, if you catch my drift. She bites her lip, suggesting they hit up their secret spot so she can show him exactly how grateful she is. Hugh is instantly on board, telling her he is absolutely craving some intense quality time. Flash forward a few hours. The internet is blowing up with a massive smear campaign against Han. The forums are entirely trashing him, pushing this wild narrative that he only locked down a trash-tier spirit because he was down bad and thirsty. Spoiler alert, Hugh orchestrated this entire digital hit job to absolutely nuke Han's reputation. When May scrolls through the hate comments, she gets a wicked thrill. She cranks up her after-hours performance with Hu, rewarding his toxic behavior. Hu is completely eating it up. Panting, he swears this is barely the prologue of Han's downfall. Tomorrow's trials, he is planning to unleash absolute hell and show that boy the true meaning of despair. Morning hits. Han and Yue step into the cafeteria, and the vibe immediately shifts. Every single head snaps their way since they are the campus main characters. The whispers echo across the room. The extras are mercilessly roasting Han, calling his future a massive flop over that low-level contract. Yue catches every single toxic word. Her eyes drop, whispering sorry for dragging him into this mess. But Han just shakes his head, telling her to drop the guilt. He gently ruffles her hair. He reminds her she is literally the undisputed queen of the academy, and she needs to own that crown. He pushes her tray closer, telling her to fuel up. She is going to need maximum stamina to crush the contract master trials today. Yuppie nods, a spark returning to her eyes. Han tells her to block out the haters so they can show these clowns what top-tier power actually looks like later on. They are mid-bite when a total edgelord named Wang Lu Mao swaggers over to completely crash their vibe. Han gives him a massive side-eye. "Who even are you?" Lu Mao puffs out his chest, bragging that he is May's brand new spirit partner. Han literally chokes, spitting out his food in pure disgust, while Yue is practically dying trying to hold back her laughter. Lu Mao's face turns beet red. He screeches like a triggered troll, demanding to know what is so funny. Han just smirks casually, replying he just remembered a joke. Cue May dramatically entering the scene. She latches onto Lu Mao's arm, sneering at Han. She tells her new toy not to bother with a literal garbage can, who willingly speed-ran his own downfall. With the trials dropping soon, she tugs Lu Mao away, but not before the guy drops a serious threat, promising to absolutely wreck Han in the arena. Cut to the Coliseum. The hype is massive as hundreds of students swarm the stands. The host steps out, booming through the mic to officially kick off the ultimate survival test. He breaks down the rules. Every single phase scales up in pure, brutal difficulty, and just surviving round 1 means you officially pass the vibe check. First up to bat, the toxic duo themselves. May and Lu Mao get called to the center stage. They strut into the battleground like they own it. The heavy steel gates grind open, unleashing a massive shadowy moth beast. This thing is a solid level 7 threat. The bell rings. Boom May instantly morphs into a sleek, deadly polearm, and Lu Mao snatches her up to face the beast. He rockets into the air, launching himself at the monster, bringing the blade down with a bone-crushing swipe that slams the creature into the dirt, but he is out for blood. He bounces back, diving straight down again, and absolutely impales the beast with terrifying brute force. The crowd loses their minds. Seeing an S-tier talent pop off in real time is pure insanity. Meanwhile, up in the VIP boxes, the district elites are observing the carnage. But one heavy hitter, Wei Cheng, the absolute boss of District 1, is not buying the hype. He is staring at the monitors, completely unfazed, convinced that Lu Mao she is still visibly sweating desperately, trying to put this beast down. Second district boss Lin Jingxuan nods along, straight up calling May out. He argues that someone of her caliber should have absolutely one-tapped that monster. The fact that she is dragging this fight out, it proves she is sitting at least 20% below the baseline power of a standard S-rank spirit. Lin does not pull punches, blaming May's sloppy, undisciplined lifestyle for causing a massive spiritual energy leak. Wu's is sweating bullets right there in the VIP room. He knows damn well they hit the nail on the head, but his lips are totally sealed, even though his intensely guilty expression is practically screaming the truth. Meanwhile, down in the arena, the announcer hypes up May and Lu Mao for clearing the trial. Turns out this duo just shattered the Academy's all-time high score by crushing a level 6 difficulty zone. The crowd goes absolutely wild, and of course the haters immediately spin around to trash-talk Han and Yue, saying they are literally begging for front-row seats to watch our boy crash and burn. Right on cue, the proctor calls Han and Yue up to the plate. The heavy steel doors grind open, revealing 10 massive pitch-black moth bugs. Level 1 grunts, but still. Han is visibly stunned, and Yue is completely frozen in pure disbelief. Sure, individually they are just level 1 trash, but 10 of them swarming at once. That instantly cranks this trial up to a brutal level 10. 10 Nightmare. The peanut gallery is definitely caught off guard by this insane difficulty spike. But let us be real, they do not give a damn. They just crave the absolute carnage. They want to see Han punished for daring to bond with a garbage E rank spirit. The proctor looks Han dead in the eye, coldly stating that an SSS rank prodigy should naturally handle a 10 times multiplier on the pain scale. The crazy part? This whole setup is rigged. Wu pulled strings behind the scenes, bribing the guy to ensure Han absolutely fails this exam. The proctor honestly feels a sting of guilt for setting the kid up, but his hands are completely tied. In his mind, it is Han's own fault for crossing the wrong guys. With zero backup and nowhere to run, Han has no choice but to step up against the terrifying wall of monstrous bugs. But instead of flinching at the impossible odds, Han does not even blink. He calmly orders Yu Wei to trigger her weapon form. It is go time. The exact second she shifts into her sleek musical instrument, Han unleashes a sound wave that literally deletes the entire swarm in one single strike. The entire stadium goes dead silent. Jaws are on the floor. Nobody can process how the guy stuck with a trash-tier E-rank partner just vaporized a massive horde like he was swatting flies. The elitist snobs who thought they were miles above Yu Wei are currently having a massive existential crisis. At this point, the proctor is absolutely paralyzed, staring blankly, while his brain screams, "Who the heck is this kid?" Up in the VIP box, the District Y is absolutely mind-blown. Back in his prime clearing, a swarm that size took him a solid 30 seconds of non-stop grinding. Han, he erased them in a single second flat. Lin admits the kid is an absolute powerhouse, but he is low-key stressing over why the trial's difficulty was jacked up so high. Wu instantly jumps in to cover his tracks lying through his teeth. He claims the Guardians of Deep Blue City temporarily spiked the heat, specifically to limit test a prodigy like Han. But deep down, Wu is boiling with insane rage. He is fuming that Han literally glided through the rigged setup without a single scratch, silently cursing him as a tough-to-kill cockroach. Wei, though, completely brushes off the difficulty spike. He flexes that things were just as brutal back in their glory days. Then the veteran elder of the group lays down the law. Keep the cameras rolling. He wants to see exactly where this crazy kid's ceiling is. Round 2 drops immediately. This time 20 nightmare-inducing ants flood the battlefield. Same script, different cast. Han channels Yu Wei's acoustic blast, completely wiping the floor with the entire wave in a heartbeat. Standing amidst the digital dust, Han smirks. He boldly calls the monsters a complete joke and demands they bring out the real challenge. The bleachers absolutely erupt. The jealous students start screaming their lungs out, calling him a cocky flexer who needs to be humbled. Watching this absolute masterclass, Wei stakes his claim instantly. That kid is coming to my turf. But 3rd District boss Ye Shu is not having it. He claps back hard. He insists his division is the ultimate training ground, where Han's potential will actually explode. He drags Wei's 1st District straight up, calling it a suicidal meat grind. Wei whips around, glaring daggers at Ye. Are you seriously trying to poach my prospect right in front of my face? Yi just smirks, reminding Wei that his terrifying sister-in-law is not around today, so he is not intimidated one bit. While those two heavyweights are bickering like little kids, Shen Ji-Qi, the big boss of the 4th District, casually slides into the chat. He confidently pitches that Han belongs with him, as the 4th District specializes in high-stakes relic hunting, the perfect stage for a powerhouse. Wei and Ye instantly pause their beef turn in perfect sync and absolutely scream at Shen to back off. Finally, the old master, their legendary mentor, slams his fist down, roar, "Enough bickering!" The geezer snaps, shutting everyone down, demanding Lin's honest take on this chaotic exam. With a wicked smirk, Lin suggests cranking the danger up to maximum overdrive, since the rookie is basically sleepwalking through the current stage. The old-timer gives the green light. Hearing this, Lin grins like a supervillain, absolutely positive Han is totally cooked. The loudspeaker suddenly crackles. The proctor announces top-down orders. The gauntlet is shifting to nightmare mode. Han's new targets, 10 second-tier armored colossi, backed up by 10 crackling second-tier thunderbirds. The crowd absolutely loses their minds. Knees knock and jaws hit the floor. They are deeply convinced this savage lineup is an instant death sentence for our boy. But Han He doesn't even flinch. He yawns loudly, complaining that this warm-up is a total joke. Lu Mao and Mei instantly start roasting his massive ego, eagerly waiting for him to get completely stomped. Han grips his weapon. Boom! He summons a squad of heavy-duty armored knights to rush the horde. The phalanx charges headfirst into the meat grinder, violently hacking through the scaly lizard tanks. While the Thunderbirds rain down a brutal long-range lightning barrage, this onslaught pins the knights down. Seeing his front line stalling in the mud, Han decides playtime is over. He blasts a devastating breakthrough melody, launching himself into the sky and obliterating the bird's defenses with one god-tier strike. The whole arena goes dead silent. People are literally gasping for air. It is physically impossible for a Tier 1 Spirit Master to completely violate a horde of Tier 2 monsters like crushing bugs. Before their brains can even process the glitch in the Matrix, Han drops another nuclear slash, erasing the entire beast wave from existence. The spectators are paralyzed in pure awe. Nobody ever imagined a high schooler could be way more terrifying than the actual dungeon bosses. Whispers erupt everywhere. Just how deep is this dude's mana pool? Because he just casually blitzed through the 3rd difficulty tier. Up in the VIP box, the district bigwigs jump out of their chairs, completely mind-blown by this generational flex happening right in front of them. Lin is sweating bullets, stammering that Han's musical mastery is off the charts. His buffing speed is a ridiculous 10 times faster than normal, which utterly defies the laws of physics. The Grandmaster refuses to accept that Yue is just some trash-tier E-rank spirit. He snaps his fingers, summoning his right-hand man, Ah Fu. Since Ah Fu rocks an X-ray appraisal ability, the boss orders him to scan Yue's true potential. Ah Fu drops a sudden bombshell. He already ran the scan, revealing that Yue's bizarre power spike mirrors the exact same anomaly as a legendary. The old guy's eyes practically bulge out of his skull. This basically proves the Awakening Stone completely fumbled the bag, labeling her E-rank when her latent potential is completely cracked. Bottom line, she only unlocked this god mode because she forged a blood bond with Han. Ah Fu nods gravy, confirming this absolute game-changer of a theory. Shaking with hype, the Grandmaster urgently declares that Ling Jun absolutely must cross paths with Han. Leaning in closer, the old boss quizzes Ah Fu, asking if he still remembers Ling Jun's supposedly useless E-rank talent. Ah Fu's eyes narrow. "The Shenlong Cauldron," he whispers. Meanwhile, down in the bloodbath, Han calmly looks at the proctor. "Run it back, next stage." The examiner stares at him like he grew a second head, asking if he has a death wish. Han smirks, swearing he is completely sane. Chalking it up to reckless teenage adrenaline, the proctor caves. The arena violently shifts to stage 4. Thirsty to test his absolute ceiling, Han brutally speedruns the new monsters in seconds. He shreds through stage 5 and methodically butchers his way straight into round 9. By the time the dust settles, the proctor is trembling, begging Han to throw in the towel. But our boy refuses to back down. He demands the mythical stage 10. The examiner absolutely loses his grip, screaming at Han to snap out of it. Because in the history of this academy, 0 candidates have ever survived the Tier 10 nightmare. Even the peanut gallery is totally convinced this kid lacks the stats to survive a suicide mission, considering he just awakened 5 minutes ago. Stage 10 is the absolute endgame, dropping a legit Tier 3 monster that could literally dig his grave. If our boy actually wants to push his luck, remember that even Wei and his veteran squad tapped out at stage 9 back when they ran the gauntlet. And even back then, that massive flex shattered a century-old record. Lin is already daydreaming about drafting Han into his faction, but Wei is literally ready to throw hands with anyone, trying to snatch his star rookie. Lin finally woke up to Han's insane potential, and now he's totally down to brawl Wei for that contract signature. Down in the dirt, the proctor gives Han the green light, saying he won't step in if Han seriously wants to brave stage 10. But he drops a brutal reality check, looking this battered Han has 0 chance of catching a W. Han just drops to the dirt, casually asking the proctor for a quick breather to patch himself up before the next round. The proctor immediately fires back, reminding him that the rulebook only grants a strict 5-minute timeout. Han completely cuts him off, smirking that he only needs the length of 1 track. He starts dropping a melody, which instantly triggers an insane burst of restorative energy flooding. The crowd's jaws hit the floor. They can't even process how Han is literally regenerating his drained stamina in real time. This confirms one wild fact: his contracted phantom is an absolute all-rounder. It finally clicks for everyone just how terrifyingly overpowered his spirit truly is. Up in the VIP box, Lin and Wei are basically ready to demolish the entire building to settle who gets to claim this prodigy. Right in the middle of their screaming match, the boss of Sector 5, Lu Jing-chun, slides in and boldly calls dibs on Han too. He lays down facts, claiming that pulling Han into his medical squad would tank contractor casualty rates by a massive 30%. But the other two instantly bark back in unison, telling him to stop dreaming, because there's 0 chance that happens. Their Grandmaster actually has to crash the party once again just to cool everyone's jets. He breaks it down, reminding these hotheads that the 8 main sectors carry very specific burdens. Simply put, Sector 1 dominates frontline combat. Sector 2, big brains the strategy, and Sector 3 pushes the borders. Sector 4 chases unknown truths. Sector 5 plays the medic role, while Sector 6 locks down critical choke points. Sector 7 commands the high seas, and Sector 8 pulls the strings from the shadows. The old man makes it crystal clear. These 8 factions are literally the backbone keeping the entire Daxia Empire from crumbling. Then he drops a massive bombshell. He's always craved forging a 9th sector, but never actually pulled the trigger. The second those words hit the air, his students freeze as it clicks. The boss is low-key, plotting to build Sector 9 and crown Han as its kingpin. But the million-dollar question remains. Does our boy actually have the juice for it? Jumping back to Han's ultimate trial on stage 10, he's staring down a massive Tier 3 Zerg Red Flame Demon. The proctor shouts over the noise that for this nightmare tier grabbing a passing grade only requires him to dodge the Grim Reaper for 3 solid minutes against this thing. To flex its insane power, the Zerg erupts, blasting a scorching shockwave that nearly vaporizes the crowd sitting up in the bleachers. Once the smoke finally clears, the audience is totally shook. Han hasn't even flinched. They fully expected him to be sprinting for his life, because this Zerg is an absolute unit you don't mess with. Han casually glances at Yue, checking if she's locked in for the brawl, and she instantly fires back, promising to ride with him, no matter how crazy his strategy gets. Boom! Han explodes forward, wrapping himself in a terrifying aura and roaring that he didn't step in here just to play defense. But the monster instantly stuffs his rush, spitting a massive fireball straight at his dome. Han immediately backflips away, barely dodging the inferno from this raging beast. Centering his breathing, he strikes a new chord on his instrument, channeling a devastating hurricane strike. A savage gale erupts instantly, violently rattling the arena walls and nearly blowing the screaming crowd out of their seats. Han funnels that crushing tornado straight into the beast, shredding its armor like wet paper. The entire stadium goes dead silent, watching this unstoppable Zerg literally disintegrate into ash. People are rubbing their eyes, refusing to accept that this rookie just cleared the impossible trial, effectively forging a legendary milestone that the world might literally never see topped again. Meanwhile, Mao and Mei are absolutely losing their minds. This massive flex was the absolute last thing they expected to witness. Mei is intensely seething because Han just completely hijacked all the hype in the arena. Sure, Han cleared the trial, but pushing past his absolute limits sent him crashing into unconsciousness. The second his eyes flutter open, he realizes he's trapped inside the eerie void of the testing space. Before panic can fully set in, the guy drops a chill introduction. He flat out states he's only crashing this dimension to hit Han with a quick pop quiz. Han instantly fires back, demanding to know the catch. Lin's expression turns dead serious as he drops the ultimate question in the bloody war between humanity and the Zerg. Who takes the crown? Han doesn't even blink. He boldly claims that while the Zerg might snatch the victory, humanity will absolutely never go down in defeat. That raw answer totally catches Lin off guard. Impressed, he digs deeper as a newly minted contract master. What is his ultimate endgame? What is he truly bleeding for? Han's voice echoes with pure conviction. He fights to completely block the Zerg from tearing their home to shreds, ensuring everyone can actually thrive in peace. He goes even harder, declaring his burning desire to see the blazing banner of Daxia planted across every inch of the realm, dragging their forgotten glory back from the ashes. Boom! Slow claps cut through the tension. An old grandmaster steps out of the shadows, visibly hyped. Without skipping a single beat, he demands Han become his personal apprentice. Lin quickly jumps in, revealing this absolute legend as his own master, Li Shu Tong. Han's jaw practically hits the floor. Are you kidding me? The Li bloodline is universally feared as the single most overpowered syndicate in all of Daxia. Rewind exactly 100 years. 3 catastrophic Zerg emperors actually formed a demonic alliance, launching a massive crusade to wipe Daxia off the map. And they were literally inches away from pulling it off. But right at the brink of pure annihilation, Shu Tong crash-landed onto the battlefield, soloing all 3 monstrous emperors. He slaughtered them, without breaking a sweat, pulling Daxia right back from the... Flashing back to that god-tier lore, Han's hype levels shatter the roof. He stares in pure disbelief, asking if he's actually worthy of being this Titan's protege. Shu Tong flashes a warm grin, confirming the spot is his, if he's got the guts to take it. In a heartbeat, Han drops into a deep, respectful bow, locking in his absolute loyalty to his legendary new mentor. The Grandmaster couldn't be more thrilled. He praises Han's fierce vibe, totally shading his other students in the process. Slapping a heavy hand on Han's shoulder, he admits his pockets are a little empty for a welcome gift, since it's a spur-of-the-moment meetup. But to compensate, he casually hands over a ring carved directly from the skull of a Stage 9 Zerg Emperor, a monstrous beast he casually obliterated back in his prime. As if that wasn't insane enough, Shu Tong reveals it holds a massive spatial void. Han's brain short-circuits at the sheer magnitude of this loot. Just locking eyes with the cursed bone, he can physically feel its suffocating, bloodthirsty aura radiating through the air. A chilling thought creeps into his mind. If a lifeless fragment leaks this much pure dread, just how godlike was that Stage 9 monstrosity when it was breathing? Shu Tong drops a crucial warning. Flaunting this ring will totally paralyze Trash Tier Zerg with fear, but flash it in front of high-ranking alphas. It acts like absolute rage bait, triggering them into a berserk frenzy. He totally gives Han a free pass to stash it away if the risk is just too spicy. But Han isn't about to back down. He swears to rock it 24/7, proudly wearing his master's ultimate flex on his finger. That sheer audacity sends Shu Tong into a booming, victorious laugh. He turns to the crew absolutely obsessed with his rookie's fearless energy. He immediately takes this golden chance to ruthlessly roast his older apprentices, calling them absolute softies, exposing the hilarious fact that they were all too terrified to even touch the cursed ring when he offered it. Cutting the banter short, Shu Tong zeroes back in. He knows for a fact that Han and Yue are running on completely empty health bars after surviving that absolute meat grinder of a trial. Riding a massive dopamine high from securing a prodigy, the Grandmaster loudly announces he's treating the whole squad to an epic feast. Smash cut to the crew rolling up to a legendary spot called Deep Blue Hot Pot. As they claim their booth, Shu Tong casually drops that the rest of the veteran squad is en route to crash the party. Sure enough, heavy hitters start filing into the room. They line up to introduce their ranks, starting from Lin all the way down to Lu. Ever the polite rookie, Han springs to his feet, dipping into a formal greeting, but the veterans immediately wave him off, insisting he drops the rigid act. In this guild, they bleed together like actual family. Yi chimes in, clarifying that the roster isn't completely full tonight. Number 6 is currently holding the line at a brutal border zone and absolutely cannot abandon his post. Meanwhile, number 7 is grinding on an overseas mission, leaving him off the radar. The crew is just gearing up to spill the tea on number 8, when the absolute menace himself violently kicks open the door. Wildly enough, the guy just tosses Han his business card, casually offering a lifeline if things ever go south. But there is a massive catch: he only gets to use it exactly once. Han just stands there totally speechless, muttering about how his 8th senior brother is one seriously eccentric dude. Lin then steps up, unveiling a stash of gifts from the rest of the crew packed with elite combat manuals, slick battle armor, and a bunch of other top-tier survival gear. The vibes are absolutely immaculate until a loud, miserable-looking woman bursts into their private room, kicking up an insane amount of drama. Turns out this absolute nightmare is Yue's aunt. She immediately gets up in Yue's face, screeching about how she snuck out to live it up, guilt-tripping her for freeloading at her house before her powers awakened. Yue frantically tries to defuse the situation, begging her to listen, but the deranged aunt just winds up her hand, fully preparing to smack the living daylights out of her for daring to talk back. Boom! Han instantly intercepts the strike, crushing her wrist in his grip. The woman glares at him, suddenly recognizing his face as the exact guy who just formed a spirit bond with her niece. She immediately starts trash-talking Han, accusing him of manipulating Yue into the contract. Ice cold and unbothered, Han just stares her down and demands to know what her deal is. Of course she keeps yapping, playing the ultimate victim card about how she single-handedly raised the girl all these years, practically demanding a massive payout for her troubles. Yue absolutely snaps, yelling at the woman to cut the toxic nonsense right then and there. But the aunt just smirks, mocking Yue and telling her not to act like the main character, just because she barely scraped by the assessment test. The Karen energy peaks as she starts flexing her connections, bragging that her uncle is a heavyweight from the 4th district. She threatens that one more word of disrespect, and she will personally pull the strings to get Yue permanently blacklisted from the Spirit Master Society. Hearing this absolute garbage, Shen steps up to reason with her, but she instantly shuts him down. She then pivots her toxic energy towards Shu Tong, rudely sizing him up and asking if he is Han's grandpa, straight up calling him a crusty old geezer. She practically shoves a ransom note in Shu Tong's face, demanding pure gold, a massive dowry, a luxury mansion, and a brand new sports car, insisting every single asset be legally signed over to her. She keeps flexing casually, dropping that her family controls the 3rd, 4th, and 5th battle zones. She issues a chilling ultimatum: either pay up or face the absolute worst consequences of their lives. Bam! Shu Tong violently slams his fist onto the table, furiously roasting his disciples for just standing there while this delusional clown disrespects him. He barks a single order: lock down their respective districts. Without hesitating, the entire squad whips out their phones and dials their heavy hitters. The arrogant aunt just laughs it off, assuming they are dialing up some basic mall cops, confidently smirking that her network is completely untouchable. But out of nowhere, her own cell starts ringing. She picks it up only to realize it is her so-called powerful uncle on the other end. Before she can even get a greeting out, the dude absolutely loses his mind, screaming through the speaker and demanding to know if she is trying to get their entire bloodline wiped out. He violently cuts ties with her on the spot, ordering her to lose his number forever. And while this guy is absolutely tearing her to shreds through the earpiece, Shutong is just sitting there, sipping his drink, and savagely mocking her for actually believing she held any real power. Right before the uncle completely severs the line, he drops one final terrifying warning. If she values breathing, she needs to stay miles away from Han and Yue. The sheer panic sets in. Her hands tremble so violently that her phone clatters onto the floor. While her reality utterly shatters, the VIP lounge bouncers suddenly march into the room, sharply warning her to pack up her circus and get out. Desperate, she tries to flip the script, crying victim and screaming that Shutong's crew was the one bullying her. But since she refuses to walk away quietly, the security guards practically drag her out of the restaurant, kicking and screaming. Mortified by the whole scene, Yue deeply bows to Shutong, her voice breaking, as she takes full responsibility for the absolute train wreck that just happened. But Shutong instantly softens his gaze. He tells her to drop the guilt trip, knowing full well that she is only dealing with these vultures because she tragically lost her parents. Looking her dead in the eye, the old master declares that starting right now, she and Han are officially his blood, holding the exact same weight as the rest of her elite seniors. Period. He even takes it a step further, forbidding her from ever returning to that toxic aunt's house, and insisting she move straight into his own estate. Completely overwhelmed, tears stream down Yue's face as she chokes out a massive thank you. Smiling warmly, Shutong just waves it off and tells the kids to feast until they drop. As the old man casually geeks out over the culinary techniques of the food, Han completely shifts gears intensely, asking the master what his own true path is. Shutong pauses, gazing back with profound wisdom. He simply states that every single warrior walks a unique road, and not even the heavy vibes fade as they crush their meal, and Han innocently wonders out loud why none of his senior brothers brought their wives to the hangout. Catching on to the vibe, Lin hits him with a wild question, straight up asking if Han and Yue have taken their bond to the bedroom yet. Flustered, Han immediately denies it, swearing they haven't. Smirking, Lion leans in and drops some insane lore. Once a spirit master and their partner actually get physical, they literally unlock a glitch in the Matrix, gaining a massive power replication ability. Even with dialed down power, this trick is an absolute game changer. He breaks it down. Spirit companions can actually swap between two modes, a physical weapon state and a human flesh and blood form. Basically, Yue's material form locks her in as that legendary musical instrument, while her human form is just her usual self. Turns out the veteran wives are currently rocking their human states, completely holding down the fort, while their husbands are off the grid. Han's jaw practically hits the floor when he realizes that masters and their spirits can tag team enemies side by side or fuse into an unstoppable solo force. Yue smoothly chimes in with a smirk, teasing that they need to max out their intimacy levels before pulling that off. Lin squints flat out, asking if Yue seriously started as a bottom-tier E rank, and Han nods, confirming the wild truth. But then he drops the bombshell, his unique cheat skill literally, and just like that, she skyrocketed straight into the god-tier SSS rank category. Hearing this insane flex, the brothers are left completely speechless, their minds absolutely shattered. Because nobody in history has ever wielded a glitch-like power like Han smirks, making it crystal clear he didn't just blindly pick his partner. He is way too calculating to make a rookie mistake like that. Armed with his broken talent, he proudly declares he'd instantly lock in a bond with any spirit packing pure divine energy, even if their base stats were absolute trash. Deep down, Han already knows the math. Beyond the Fuxi Qin, 9 other mythic relics from the top 10 ancient arsenal are still out there, waiting to be claimed. Shutong's face turns dead serious, strictly warning Han to keep this broken ability entirely off the radar. Nobody else can know. He immediately orders Lin to slap the absolute maximum security clearance on Han and Yue's files, sealing their secrets in an impenetrable digital vault. With the heavy secrets locked down, the brothers pivot, delivering rapid-fire updates on their territorial zones. The veteran commander nods with pride, praising the squad for crushing their regional assignments. Raising their glasses high, the crew toasts to their nation's survival, wrapping up the epic night with immaculate vibes. Fast forward to midnight. Shutong escorts the duo back to his personal estate, locking in their crash pad for the foreseeable future. Stepping inside the sprawling mansion, Han and Yue are instantly hit with absolute sensory overload. The place is ridiculously massive. Blown away, Han admits he never pictured the gritty veteran owning a luxury fortress right in the heart of Deep Blue City. A heavy silence drops. Tong softly reveals this neon metropolis was actually his late wife's hometown. Naturally, Han leans in asking to hear her story. The temperature in the room plummets. A shadow crosses Tong's face as he chokes out the brutal truth she fell on the absolute bloodiest front lines. He bitterly confesses that the history books only glaze over his name as the savior who flipped the war, completely erasing her ultimate sacrifice from memory. Voice cracking with raw grief, Tong admits he is just an empty shell without her. Feeling the soul-crushing weight of his words, Han and Yue are hit right in the feels. Feeling insanely guilty for ripping open old scars, Han stammers out an apology, but Tong just meets his gaze fiercely, demanding that Han treasures Yue, urging him to remember that she is his literal soulmate, not just some disposable weapon to be tossed away. Taking the heavy advice straight to heart, Han thanks the older warrior, swearing on his life to fiercely protect Yue through thick and thin. Stepping up, Han respectfully asks for her name, declaring that as long as even one living soul speaks her legacy, she'll never be erased from this world. Tong's eyes soften. He praises the kid's genuine soul, admitting that Han's raw empathy is exactly what sets him apart from the selfish masses. Taking a shaky breath, he finally speaks the name that haunts his. He drops a massive lore bomb during that apocalyptic clash against the Zerg emperors. He only managed to slaughter one. It was his wife who pushed past her limits, fighting until her dying breath to obliterate the other two supreme threats. Tong painfully admits she deserved every ounce of the nation's glory, and if she had survived the bloodbath, she would be the one wearing the hero's crown today. Wiping away the heavy atmosphere, Tong waves them off, urging the exhausted duo to crash in one of the guest rooms before dawn breaks. Hours later, beneath a glowing midnight sky, Tong sits alone silently staring at the moon with a faded photo of Ling Mei. But Han and Yue quietly step into the courtyard, softly refusing to let him drown in the darkness alone. They offer to share the heavy midnight silence by his side. Genuinely touched by their loyalty, Tong chuckles softly. Watching their unbreakable bond feels like looking straight into a mirror of his own past love. Suddenly, the atmosphere ignites. Tong unleashes a violently suffocating aura, warning Han that true love means nothing if he lacks the brutal firepower to protect it. To ensure history doesn't repeat itself, the legendary master decides right then and there to pass down his most lethal, heavily guarded combat technique. Inhaling sharply, Tong's muscles coil like steel springs before he launches a shockwave punch that literally snaps the massive tree in front of him clean in half. As the dust settles, he turns back to a stunned Han, revealing the terrifying name of this ultimate fighting style, the Eight Locks Fist. He breaks down the chaotic science behind it. The technique targets 8 sealed chakra gates inside the human body, turning the user into an absolute god of destruction. Once all 8 locks are snapped, someone is about to totally shatter their absolute limits. In a flash, Han perfectly mimics Tong's exact technique, leaving the old master absolutely floored. Tong rubs his eyes in sheer disbelief. It took Wei 6 whole months to master that trick, yet Han nailed it flawlessly after a single glance. Smirking confidently, Han flexes that he pinpointed the lock positions purely on instinct, officially cementing his absolute prodigy status. But Tong wastes zero time, smashing a fist straight into the kid's gut. Han collapses, groaning in agony as it becomes glaringly obvious the old man struck him totally on purpose. Why? Because prodigy or not, the master desperately needs to crush the boy's massive ego before it inflates any further. Exhaling a deeply satisfied breath, Tong mutters that nothing beats the thrill of knocking cocky geniuses down a peg. Showing zero mercy, the old master relentlessly batters Han, disguising his savage beatdown as a hardcore training session. In the blink of an eye, Han's face balloons up massively, looking exactly like he just lost a brutal boxing match against an angry beehive. Fast forward to the academy the next morning. Yue worriedly checks if his battered face still stings, but Han casually brushes it off, claiming the pain is already gone. Honestly, he couldn't care less. He secretly knows his master was just messing around and testing his endurance. The duo is chilling, totally minding their own business, until Luma struts over. Luma and his brainless lackey instantly start spewing garbage. Yue looks utterly baffled by the sudden beef, but Han calmly signals for her to chill out. To him, Luma and his pathetic crew are nothing but a bunch of annoying buzzing flies begging to be swatted. Shortly after, Han and Yue step into the principal's office, totally unaware that a massive bombshell is about to be dropped on their heads. Looking dead serious, the principal reveals that Top Brass just commanded them to relocate to the gritty city of Deep Blue and enlist in the Guardian Syndicate. Their mission, grinding out brutal lowest-tier frontline grunt work from the absolute bottom of sliding the official dispatch across the desk, the principal strictly warns them to pack up and report for duty immediately. Han's eyes go wide. Getting tossed straight onto the chaotic front lines definitely wasn't on his bingo card today. Sighing heavily, the principal mutters that this reckless assignment is a tragic waste of Han's insane potential. Yet his hands are completely tied. When the absolute highest authorities bark an order, Shockingly, Han flashes a reassuring grin telling the old man to stop stressing. He fully embraces the gritty challenge ahead. Deep down, Han senses this is exactly the grueling solitary path his master silently prepared him to conquer alone. Stepping back into the hallway, they immediately bump into Luma, who shamelessly resumes his obnoxious trash-talking. Han stares at him deadpan, utterly unbothered by the pathetic yap. Spotting that icy glare, Luma's ego takes a nasty hit. Stepping up aggressively, Luma threatens to violently demolish Han. He smugly brags about having a wild night with Mei, claiming the fun totally boosted his raw power overnight. Blasting forward, Han lunges. Their fists collide in a brutal mid-air clash, sending an intense shockwave ripping straight through the entire corridor. But as the dust instantly clears, Luma's arrogant smirk vanishes. Every single nerve in his dominant hand has been completely pulverized. Cradling his mangled fingers, the bully shrieks out for his mommy like a total coward. But Han isn't finished. He brutally drives a devastating hook straight into Luma's jaw. The impact sends the punk crashing into the dirt, violently spitting shattered teeth from his bloody mouth. Dusting his knuckles, Han gently grabs his girl. He softly tells Yue it is time to bounce, smoothly pointing out that the loudmouth absolutely earned that brutal reality check. Blinking in confusion, Yue asks about their next destination. Han confidently replies that they are heading straight to their brand new deployment zone. A quick trip later, the duo pulls up to the rundown Guardian headquarters, casually strolling up to the dusty front desk. The lazy clerk barely glances up, mistaking them for random clients, and rudely barks at them to wait at the back of the line. But Han cuts the guy off, firmly stating they actually came to officially enlist in the squad. Hearing that, the slacker instantly ditches his mobile game. Snapping his head up and squinting, he finally recognizes the infamous duo standing right in front of him. Bursting into a wicked mocking laugh, the clerk sneers that VIP orders came down from the top to make their lives an absolute living nightmare. Smirking wickedly, the guy aggressively taps his keyboard, eagerly pulling up their official deployment files. He gleefully announces they are getting dumped straight into Squad 052. Here is the breakdown. In the Guardian Syndicate, every sector features a supreme elite squad strictly tasked with bossing around the lower-ranked fighters. All the other grunts get slapped with random digits tied to their zones, totally scattered across various sketchy divisions. Following the clerk's shady directions, Han and Yue finally push open the door to Squad 0527, only to find the office looking like a literal hurricane just ripped through it. Amidst the utter chaos sits a random dude and a wildly aggressive woman who instantly snaps at Han, demanding to know what the heck he wants. Totally unfazed by her nasty attitude, Han calmly, hearing that absolute flex, the lazy guy sprawled out on the trashy couch, immediately erupts into a hysterical mocking fit of laughter. Mocking Han as a literal child who has no business calling the shots, this guy mercilessly talks trash. He tells him to go back to the playground, prompting Yue to snap back, demanding to know what his problem is. Han is absolutely disgusted. He can't believe a dumpster fire like this guy actually made it into the organization. This perfectly sums up the absolute train wreck that is Team 0527 right now. The guy suddenly gets up, creeps into Yue's personal space, and starts dropping gross pickup lines, smooth-talking her, and asking if she wants to lock in as his personal contracts. That instantly triggers Han. He unleashes a brutal right hook, launching the creep across the room, while blood sprays from his nasty mouth. But get this, even after eating dirt, this dude, Ifan, just casually grabs his booze and dives right back into getting absolutely wasted. The girl in the room, Hong Ying-wei, shoots Ifan a glare and tells him to babysit their new boss, claiming she is tapping out to go catch some sleep. Ifan begs her to spot him some cash for another round, but she violently slams the door right in his face, screaming that she is dead broke. Taking the hint, Ifan turns back to Han, bragging about how their squad is so incredibly broke they can't even afford a cheap buzz, straight up warning Han that sticking around is a massive mistake. Unfazed, Han looks him dead in the eye and declares that with him in charge, their rock-bottom status is just a temporary glitch. Ifan just chuckles, dragging his feet over to his computer while roasting Han for having way too much main character energy. He points at the ranking screen, flashing the brutal truth they are sitting dead last among all the city's Guardian squads, scraping the absolute bottom in points. With only 2 months left on the clock before the year wraps up, the higher-ups are gearing up for a massive purge to wipe out the underperforming teams. Anyone who gets the boot will be permanently banished to the slums of the lower district. And looking at their pathetic score, Ifan guarantees they are heavily favored for relegation. He paints a grim picture calling the lower district a literal hellscape where hope goes to die. He practically begs Han to dip immediately unless he wants to end up rotting in the gutters down there. To drive his point home, Ifan hurls his glass bottle right at Han, making it crystal clear he isn't joking. Catching on, Han pieces the puzzle together. Hu is aggressively pulling every string to forcefully exile him into that nightmare zone. But Han isn't about to roll over. He makes it his personal mission to completely derail that scum. Sensing the heavy vibes, Yue whispers to Han that they should just bounce, pointing out that Ifan is beyond saving. But Han shuts that idea down. He tells his partner that dodging their demons only breeds weakness, and the only way to level up is to crush the obstacles head on. Besides, jumping ship to another squad wouldn't magically stop Hu from hunting him down. Han's strategy is wildly ambitious. Stay right here, transform this dumpster fire squad into the city's elite, and absolutely shatter Hu's master plan. Striding straight into the back room, Han confronts Ying. She glares at him with freezing contempt, barking at him to get out because he isn't wanted. Han doesn't flinch. He asks if she's seriously just going to sit there and wait for the Grim Reaper. Then he drops a massive bomb by calling out her true identity, Bai Shuang. Instantly, Bai's cool facade shatters into pure rage and panic, demanding to know how on earth he ripped off her disguise. The truth is, Han's overpowered ability cracked her code effortlessly, laying all her darkest secrets bare, right in front of his eyes. With a sly grin, Han tells her that since he already laid his cards on the table, it is only fair he flexes a little bit of what he can actually do. He can read her like a book. Beneath that icy tough girl armor, Han knows she desperately wants this squad to survive. Spitting venom, Bai warns him that trying to blackmail her with those secrets is a fatal mistake. Unbothered, Han simply extends his hand, pitching an alliance. He challenges her to tackle some missions together, betting his life she is terrified of ending up in the lower district. While Ifan seems perfectly fine with circling the drain, Han promises Bai a solid 50% cut of the loot, challenging her to just play along and see that he is dead serious. Reluctantly, Bai locks her hand in his. She accepts the risky deal, realizing that anyone who can effortlessly shred her illusions is dangerously built different. Taking the lead, Han assigns her the role of mission broker, swearing that he will be the muscle to execute every single one. Swiping through her screen, Bai pulls up the intel, revealing exactly 3 active gigs that fit their current pay grade, and slides the device over for him to scope out the details. But as Han scans the glowing tablet, his hype instantly flatlines. The missions available total garbage tier quests offering measly points. Han locks eyes with Bai, insisting they desperately need massive bounty missions to instantly crush the competition. Without hesitating, he snatches up a brutal gig exterminating a massive Zerg infestation, swarming in the city's filthy sewers. The only catch, this literal death trap officially demands a heavily armed squad of 6 to 8 seasoned fighters. Bai stares at him like he just lost his damn mind, totally convinced he has a death wish for taking on a dual squad raid. Completely ignoring her panic, Han coolly explains that insane risks bring insane rewards, officially locking in the death mission, before Bai can even protest. She absolutely snaps, warning him that since a massive 10% point deduction will instantly wreck their ranking. Unbothered, Han just smirks, assuring her to just chill out because he has the entire slaughter totally under control. Bai reluctantly caves, bound by their fragile alliance, though she mentally prepares to drag his lifeless body out of the muck. Cut to another corner of the city. A rival squad discovers their prime target just got snatched. They completely lose their minds, raging over the loss of a juicy 300-point gold mine. Furious, the bitter crew sets up a shadow ambush near the grates, desperate to expose the lunatic who dared to hijack their massive payday. Down in the underground darkness, Han's squad sludges through the foul tunnels. Bai whispers, frantically begging them to stay hyper-vigilant, terrified that a monstrous, bloodthirsty Tier 2 Zerg is silently stalking them in the shadows. Han simply ignores her panic, exchanging a subtle deadpan nod with Yue. Without a single word, the duo blasts forward into the pitch-black abyss, casually tossing a stay-put order over their shoulders. Bai screams into the echoing void, desperately warning the reckless idiots about the lethal nightmares waiting ahead. Seconds later, a terrifying heavy shockwave rips through the damp tunnels, rattling her straight to the core. Her heart instantly drops into her stomach. She assumes the absolute worst, convinced it is a total slaughter. Sprinting blindly into the darkness, pure panic fuels her every step as she desperately prays they are not already dead. But when she finally bursts into the main cavern, her jaw hits the filthy floor. Han is casually standing amidst an ocean of butchered monsters. Dusting off his hands, Han flashes a cocky smirk and casually announces that the underground trash has been totally taken out. Treating the brutal massacre like a casual stroll, he orders a dumbfounded Bai to start harvesting the rare loot from the mangled beasts, knowing this massive haul will make them insanely rich. He then points a bloody finger toward a limp body nearby, casually identifying the guy as the missing city protector. Shrugging at the tragic scene, Han mutters that the guy is already a goner, telling her to just bag up the stiff for the bounty. Boy is literally paralyzed with shock. Her brain short-circuits trying to comprehend what kind of absolute freak Han actually is to obliterate nightmare-level mutants, without breaking a single sweat. Flash forward exactly 1 hour. The salty rival squad finally creeps into the underground tunnels, only to freeze in pure absolute terror. The entire deadly horde has already been violently eradicated. Trembling, their scout inspects the gruesome carnage and drops a massive bombshell. Every single beast was brutally wiped out with just one single godlike strike. A heavy, chilling silence falls over the crew as they realize an unimaginably terrifying beast is out there, stealing their gigs. Cut back to headquarters. Who gets slapped with the infuriating news Han's underdog crew just steamrolled 2 major missions, rocketing their score to a whopping 350 points. Who absolutely loses his mind, violently screaming at his terrified lackey for failing to sabotage the rising star. While the pathetic goon stammers out miserable apologies, Hu seethes with toxic rage, swearing a brutal vendetta to completely crush Han's momentum. Snapping his fingers, Hu ruthlessly commands his minion Bei to mobilize every rival squad and hoard every single bounty in Deep Blue City, making sure Han is starved of points and left with absolutely nothing. Later that evening, Shudong casually offers to erase Hu from the equation, but Han coolly waves him off. Instead, Han shifts the intense focus, pointing out that the city's so-called elite guardians have completely abandoned their sacred duty to actually shield the innocent from danger. To him, the real terrifying plague is not petty rivals. It is the deeply rooted corruption quietly infecting the high. Shutong nods, grimly agreeing that while Han was out slaughtering aliens, the entire association had completely rotted away from the inside out. The hardened master glares into the distance, declaring that this totally broken system desperately needs a massive fiery purge, and that chaotic bloody cleanse. That is the exact reason he handpicked Han as his ult. Given the absolute green light to burn the corruption to the ground, Han smirks and wholeheartedly accepts the brutal crusade. Switching gears, Han admits he has hit a massive roadblock, completely stuck, trying to crack the elusive 8th tier of the legendary 8 Quick Fist martial art. Begging for a solid hint, he listens intently as Shutong drops a deeply cryptic bomb. To transcend, he must linger between life and death. That chilling phrase permanently embeds itself into Han's soul, instantly sparking a wild, reckless new strategy to shatter his mortal limits. Fast forward to that night, Han is just about to crash when Yue randomly pops into his room, dropping a total bombshell she wants to bunk with him. Han's jaw basically drops. He looks completely baffled, asking why she wants to crash here, when there are literally dozens of empty bedrooms scattered around the crib. Yue casually mentions that Shutong completely locked down all the other doors. Left with 0 options, Han just shrugs and gives her the green light to stay. He immediately volunteers to take the cold, hard floor, but Yue shuts that down instantly. She straight up insists that he takes the mattress. The vibes are insanely awkward, but against all odds, the two of them actually end up sharing the exact same mattress for the night. Come morning, Han springs out of bed completely hyped. He is buzzing with energy, ready to grind and snatch up some fresh daily missions. Rolling up to the squad headquarters, they walk into a totally wild scene. Ifan and Bai are acting incredibly respectful and totally on their best behavior. Plot twist. Those two absolutely did their homework. They dug up Han's files and realized they are standing in front of the legendary double S tier prodigy. Bai instantly bows her head, throwing out a massive apology for acting totally out of pocket when they first crossed paths. Han waves it off instantly, telling her to looking completely stressed out. Bai admits she is terrified that a massive talent like him is just gonna rot away hanging with their crew. She is honestly mind-blown that the big bosses would actually dump a superstar like him into this complete dumpster fire of a division. Staring her dead in the eyes, Han drops a raw quote. He claims that average folks let the world shape them, but absolute bosses like him show up to completely rewrite the system. Ifan chimes in, warning Han that escaping this nightmare is not going to be a walk in the park, especially with an absolute demon like Hu breathing down his neck. He spills the tea that Hu is basically pulling every single dirty string possible to violently kick Han all the way down into the slums of the lower. To make things even worse, Bai points out a super sketchy glitch. Literally every single quest inside the city limits has been completely wiped from the board. Not even a basic fetch quest is left. Looking completely lost, Bai turns to Han, desperately begging for a game plan to save their run. It is incredibly frustrating, especially since the squad was finally catching on to the loophole. Han just smirks. Since only Deep Blue City got nerfed, he straight up suggests they migrate their entire hub over to Konghai City. He slams the update button, and boom, the mission board instantly lights up with a fresh wave of bounties just begging to be crushed. But Bai hits him with a brutal reality check. Going off the grid means an insane road trip, and the highways are absolutely crawling with deadly zergs. Zero hesitation, the crew immediately packs up, jumping into a massive armored rig and gunning the engine straight toward. Cruising down the broken highway, Yue squints at a sketchy shadow blurring the horizon. Pointing it out, she asks what the heck that thing is, and Han instantly drops the lore. He identifies the creeping threat as a Tier 1 Zerg famously known as the Dead Ashfly. These gnarly bugs never roll solo, they strictly hunt in massive, and the math is completely terrifying. The bigger the dark cloud gets, the more insanely lethal. Chilling out in the truck bed, Ifan finally sits up to peek at the action. The second he spots the skyline, he absolutely loses his mind in pure panic. A gigantic nightmare-inducing wave. The buzzing mass is so insanely huge, it actually morphed into a living, breathing tornado. Han grimly points out that if that thing touches down, it is going to be an apocalyptic wipeout. Suddenly hyped up on adrenaline, Ifan screams that they should totally floor it and hunt down the monster. Ignoring the chaos, Bai locks eyes through the rearview mirror, checking with Han to see what his ultimate plan. Squinting through the dust, Han zeroes in on the madness. He instantly clicks that the bug tornado is actually hunting down a heavily armored transport fleet. Bai quickly asks if they are about to pull off a crazy rescue mission. Without skipping a single beat, Han gives the nod to go save those strangers. He commands Bai to smash the gas pedal to the absolute floor. Ripping the steering wheel hard right, Bai sends the truck drifting straight into the danger zone. In the back, Ifan is basically throwing a one-man rager, screaming like he just hit the massive jackpot. He violently bashes it. Meanwhile, trapped inside that doomed fleet sits an incredibly high-profile VIP boss lady. Shang Siding watches the absolute apocalypse unfolding outside her tinted windows. Her elite bodyguards instantly lock and load, fully prepared to throw their lives away just to buy her a few extra seconds. The demonic bug wave is closing in way too fast. They all know the brutal truth backup is absolutely not showing up in time to save them from this slaughter. Gripping his radio, the head security chief barks out a chilling final order. He demands every single soldier on the comms to brace for, but Ziding violently snatches the mic right out of his hand. Her voice drips with absolute authority as she commands her crew to keep fighting tooth and nail until the very last breath. Refusing to back down, the loyal guards hit her with a heavy reality check. They boldly state that shedding their blood. Hanging out the windows, the security team flips off the safety switches and rains absolute hellfire onto the disgusting swarm tailing their bumpers. But the flies are just too insanely aggressive. In a terrifying split second, the trailing jeep gets swallowed by the black cloud and violently chucked straight. Siding's heart absolutely shatters watching her people get totally obliterated. Trying to keep her focused, her personal butler gently chimes in, begging her not to drown. He drops a deeply emotional bomb, reassuring her that deigning to protect the young miss. But right as all hope is totally bleeding out, a wild roaring engine echoes through the wasteland. Everyone snaps their heads toward the shattered windows, complete. The crew watches in pure awe as Han literally shreds through the entire bug swarm using nothing but insane music. Baiting's jaw completely hits the floor. In the blink of an eye, the massive horde is entirely obliterated. The butler is absolutely flabbergasted, wondering how an absolute unit like Han even exists. Just before wiping out the final remaining bug, hurls a desperate, furious barrage of deadly spikes straight at their rig. Out of nowhere, Ifan launches himself into the air, tanking the brutal hit head-on. He gets violently pinned with spikes like a pincushion and slams hard into the truck bed. But instead of screaming in agony, this psycho starts cackling like a total madman, raving about how thrilling the pain feels. Han instantly steps up, yanking the venomous barbs out, warning the crazy dude that he's going to flatline in seconds if those spikes stay lodged inside. But wait, Han freezes. He literally watches Ifan's own flesh naturally push the remaining spikes right out of his body. Mind absolutely blown, Han activates his scanning ability to instantly check out his teammates' hidden, and what he sees shakes him to his core. Ifan is rocking a straight-up immortality buff. The catch: Han has zero clue how this broken ability actually functions, or what its limits are. Catching that confused look, Ifan flashes a wicked smirk and tells Han to get on his knees and beg for the secret. Yeah, right. Han's massive ego isn't having any of that. He rolls his eyes, turns his back, and coldly brushes him off. Hitting the road again, the squad finally rolls up to their first bounty zone, only to be swarmed by a massive hive of flying zergs. Yu Wei instantly shifts into his beast form, but Han unleashes absolute hellfire, instantly vaporizing a massive chunk of the terrifying monsters. With a single god-tier swing, Ifan's mind is totally shattered, watching Han one-shot these nightmares like they are literal paper. Even Bai is rubbing her eyes, completely speechless as Han continuously smashes every power ceiling she ever imagined. Riding that insane momentum, the squad goes on an absolute rampage, speedrunning bounty after bounty. When the rival guilds back at the base check the leaderboards, they collectively lose their minds. At first, they think it's some legendary high-ranking squad, but the awful truth drops like a bomb. It's Team 0527 from Deep Blue City. The local Konghai players are absolutely fuming, screaming that Han's squad showed up just to clown on them. Dripping with sweat and panic, they instantly scramble, desperately trying to snatch up any leftover quests on the board. Fueled by pure rage, they rush into the wild, scrambling to complete bounties before those infamous quest bullies can completely hijack their entire loot pool. Desperate times call for desperate measures, so they boldly push into the high-difficulty boss zones. But the moment they arrive, crickets. Han has already wiped the floor with the elite monsters. Boiling over, the local guild captain barks at his driver to whip the car around. He wants to hunt Han down and teach this cocky rookie a brutal lesson. But a panicked teammate violently grabs the captain's arm, frantically explaining that the Deep Blue crew had already turned in their quests and dipped. Rumor has it bystanders spotted their battle rig speeding past the city limits just minutes ago. And unfortunately for the angry locals, the intel is dead on, because Han and his chaotic crew are already long gone, totally vanishing into thin air. Meanwhile, high up in the Guardian Association Tower, the third in command, Su Ming Xuan, is staring at the regional data. The quest completion rates across multiple districts have randomly spiked straight to the moon. His terrified assistant bursts in, reporting that a rogue squad of overpowered quest bullies just blitzed through their territory, completely monopolizing all the high-tier bounties from neighboring districts and causing an absolute meltdown in the hunter economy. Eyes narrowed, Su barks an order to instantly pull up the background files on this mysterious squad. He absolutely needs to figure out who these insane monsters actually are. Moments later, the assistant rushes back, clutching the dossiers. Su gestures for him to step outside, cracking his knuckles to dig into the confidential data. Flicking open the first folder, Ifan and Bai's names flash across the screen. But his jaw drops when he sees the massive classified stamp glowing on both of their records. A totally insane security level for seemingly random rookies. Su braces himself, assuming the squad leader's file will be heavily encrypted too. But instead, he is left completely baffled. Han's personal record is practically a blank sheet, listing just his name and his old academy, with literally zero combat data or background lore. Absolutely nothing. Su is just about to write it off as a glitch in the mainframe, until his private phone suddenly rings, flashing the name Lin. A cold sweat drops down his neck. Why on earth is an absolute legend like Lin randomly calling him right now? He is literally mid-sentence throwing out polite greetings when Lin sharply cuts him off. She drops the hammer, ordering him to instantly drop his investigation into the files he asked for. Why? Because that intel is way above his pay grade. Su takes the hint and backs down. But the second the line goes dead, his brain goes into overdrive. Who on earth is this Han guy, and why did Lin personally step in to protect him? Cut back to Han. Our boy is still out in the field, absolutely grinding through missions with his squad. Right after they crush their 18th bounty, Han tells the crew to pull up the scoreboard, because with the insane amount of work they've put in, grabbing the #1 spot should be a total guarantee. Bai taps into the system and reports back. They currently sit at 18 points, but somehow they are still stuck dead last on the leaderboards. Jaws hit the floor. The whole squad is reeling, because mathematically that just does not make any sense. Yue wonders out loud if another crew is somehow speedrunning these quests, but Bai isn't buying it. He strongly suspects foul play. Han finally pulls up the global rankings himself, and his eyes lock onto a massive red flag. The second-to-last team is flexing exactly 2,300 points, which is somehow just slightly higher than theirs. The math just isn't mathing. There is absolutely no way more than a dozen squads are packing double S-tier prodigies to farm points this fast. Han lays it out for the crew. They aren't getting outplayed, they are witnessing massive score manipulation. It looks like the other factions secretly formed an alliance to cap their scores at a very specific number. Basically, they farm the missions together and then funnel all the rewards straight to one single carry. It's a massive loophole. Technically, no rules are being broken since the experience was earned as a collective group. Bai absolutely loses it. He crashes out in a rage, yelling that the system was rigged against them from day one. But Han stays ice cold. He tells the squad to chill, pointing out that the gap is still manageable, which means they still have a solid window to grind hard and completely leapfrog the cheaters. He calls for a tactical retreat back to the Deep Blue City first, and the team is totally on board. The second they step through their front door, Shutong hits Han up about the run. Han gives him the rundown, saying the battles went smoothly enough. But in the same breath, he admits they completely missed their target score. On the bright side, Han flexes that they managed to save a wandering merchant convoy mid-mission. So at least the trip wasn't a total flop. Shutong's eyebrows shoot up. He already got the tea from Si Ting, who kept complaining about being rescued by some totally clueless guy, which means she was definitely roasting Han this whole time. Ever since that incident, she has been relentlessly blowing up Shutong's phone, begging for the secret to awakening her powers so she can become an elite contract spirit master. Han is totally shook. He had no clue this old man was casually connected to Si Ting. Shutong drops some major lore. Turns out Si Ting's grandpa is his ride or die from way back. Plus the Shang family dynasty is literally one of the top 5 megacorps in the world, sitting right behind Kunshan Technology. Their whole vibe, crafting ultra-premium gear, to buff up spiritless masters and even hooking up regular civilians with heavy firepower. Shutong admits he treats Si Ting like his actual flesh and blood. Hearing this, Han realizes he just saved a massive VIP. Then comes the plot twist. Shutong confesses that the Shang family actually orchestrated that entire ambush to test Si Ting's limits. They basically wanted to scare her into quitting the lifestyle, but Han had to swoop in like an action hero and completely ruin their script. Han physically winces, feeling super guilty. He realizes he might have just accidentally crashed a well-meaning family intervention, but Shutong waves it off with a smile. No harm done. Ironically, that exact convoy was secretly hauling a massive care package directly to him. And those high-tier drops, they were always meant to go straight into Han's inventory. The old man pops open a slick cargo box, revealing 2 glowing vials. One pulses with a deep purple aura, and the other with a toxic green. Han eyes them up, asking for the stats. Shutong smirks, calling them breakthrough elixirs guaranteed to launch his power, scaling to the next level. Han's eyes widen. He's heard the rumors that these elixirs act like insane power-ups, maxing out your strength, speed, reflexes, and raw durability. But honestly, he always thought it was just total hype. Done talking, Shutong hypes them up and dares the duo to just down the drinks and find out. No hesitation. Han snatches the purple vial while Yue Wei takes the green one. The literal millisecond the liquid hits Han's throat, a massive surge of explosive heat incinerates his veins. Gasping for air, he admits that this elixir is absolutely no joke. Yue Wei is flooded with glowing new runes, supercharging her already lethal arsenal. Han also unlocks some insane hard-hitting offensive skills. As the dust finally clears, Han hypes up the potion to Shutong, calling it absolute top-tier stuff, since it just boosted his level and unlocked crazy new techniques for Yue Wei. Shutong nods in approval, letting them know they totally crushed his expectations. Out of nowhere, Han's phone starts buzzing, and when he glances at the screen, he spots Bai's caller ID. She frantically tells him to check the city's bounty board right now, because a massive new quest just dropped. It's an absolute code red. Vicious wanderers have been sighted lurking right outside the city walls. The guild is dropping a massive bounty of 1,000 points for the hit, and it's basically a free-for-all. But noticing these monsters are locked at Tier 3, Bai is totally stressing over taking the gig. A fully evolved wanderer hits as hard as 3 Tier 3 masters combined. Han cuts her off, telling her they need to strategize face-to-face. Han and Yue Wei immediately bolt out the door, shouting back at Shutong that duty calls. Shutong just watches them sprint off, sighing, as he realizes he's officially in his grandpa era. Right after they bounce, Afu steps out of the shadows, reporting that they finally tracked down Ling Jian, but she's throwing up walls and straight up refusing to come home. Shutong demands her exact coordinates, and Afu drops the bombshell that she's hiding out in Konghai City. Fast forward, Han meets up with the rest of the squad. Bai immediately asks if they are actually diving into this suicide run. Han doesn't even hesitate, confirming they are totally in, because there is zero chance they are skipping a golden opportunity to farm insane points and gap the competition. Bai drops a grim reality check, warning them that Wanderers are a brutally toxic class of Zerg, and they barely even stand a chance against a baby one. Han fires back, reminding her that this is a code red emergency. If they don't slaughter this beast while it's still young, it's going to wipe the entire city off the map once it reaches its final form. He hits her with the hero speech, reminding the crew that they are a guardian squad. They throw hands to save lives, not to chase a high score. Ifan overhears the whole dramatic monologue and completely roasts his captain, teasing him. for acting like the ultimate righteous protagonist. Seeing the squad practically vibrating with adrenaline, Bai finally caves and leads them straight into the danger zone. Cut to the drop zone. A rival squad is currently perched on a high-rise rooftop, spying on the entire chaotic scene below. The contaminated zone is totally swallowed by a massive creepy veil. The rival boss breaks it down for his crew, explaining that this pitch-black dome completely shuts down all senses, essentially cutting it off from reality to spawn its own cursed dimension. Anything trapped inside that dark void gets hit with rapid aging and decay, literally rotting away into nothingness. One of the grunts turns to the captain, confused why the big bosses are still broadcasting the bounty when their elite squad is already locked and loaded on site. He starts getting paranoid, asking if the higher-ups think they are a bunch of frauds. The squad leader smirks, revealing that the Wanderer is basically a raid boss, so they need a massive wave of bait to tank the aggro. The grim reality sinks in, and the crew finally gets why Command pulled such a shady move. The ruthless leader tells his boys to kick back and let the first wave of oblivious cannon fodder blindly charge into the meat grinder. He pulls up his scopes, zooming into the distance, and a twisted villainous grin spreads across his face as he locks onto Han's crew gearing up to breach the barrier. Down on the ground, Han warns everyone to stay razor sharp because of the monster's suffocating black dome. Bai double-checks if he is genuinely ready to push, warning him that stepping through that barrier is a pure one-way ticket. Ifan flexes, bragging that the dark magic won't even scratch him, but Han smoothly reassures the squad that they've got this in the bag. With pure main character energy, Han breaches the dark void first, and his loyal crew steps right into the abyss behind him. The second they cross the threshold, an overwhelming suffocating aura slams into them, screaming that top-tier insectoids are prowling the shadows. Han commands everyone to stay on high alert, and Yue Wei shivers, whispering that she feels a heavy unseen glare burning right into her soul. Suddenly, a spine-chilling screech echoes through the gloom, accompanied by a horrific sensation, like their actual life force is being violently siphoned right out of their veins. Bai panics, shouting that this dome has a terrifying passive called Life Drain. Basically, as long as they are stuck inside this hellscape, their HP will aggressively tick down until they drop dead. Ifan does the grim math, calculating they have exactly 30 minutes on the clock. If they can't shatter this cursed dome from the inside before the timer hits 0, they are going to end up as a midnight snack for the Wanderer. Bai points shakily and asks if that massive pulsing black orb in the distance is their target, and Ifan grimly nods yes. Han locks his eyes on the target, realizing their only shot at survival means shattering that pitch-black sphere. Out of nowhere, the ground warps right beneath their feet, swallowing Bai whole into a massive fleshy barricade. Han drops some massive lore. The Wanderer doesn't just snatch souls away, this boss actually breathes twisted life into things. And we aren't just talking about flesh and blood. This freakish ability animates literal weapons and even the dirt they stand on. Hearing that, Yue instantly shifts into her battle form, hyping Han up to absolutely wreck this whole place. Han goes full beast mode, blasting the pulsating barrier with absolutely everything he has got. But no matter how hard he goes, that gross meat wall tanks every single... In a flash, the walls shift and box them in. Han's stomach drops. They are totally cornered, because the Wanderer is actively playing mind games to cage them. Suddenly, a grotesque parasite drops right behind Han, lunging straight for his spine, but he dodges out of the way. Cold sweat drips down Han's face, as he instantly recognizes the parasite, making Yue demand to know why he is tweaking out over a bug. Meanwhile, outside the zone, the Vanguard squad flexes their egos, 100% convinced they can solo the mission no matter what. They honestly believe they can just dip out easily if the raid goes sideways. Well, karma hits fast. The situation spirals out of control when a suffocating mist swallows the entire squad. Absolute chaos erupts. Nobody has a clue what this bizarre fog is actually doing to them. As the thick haze finally thins out, a rookie nervously taps his captain on the shoulder to check on him. Big mistake. The captain whips around and violently chokeslams his own guy like a bloodthirsty monster. Yup, you guessed it. That exact same parasitic creeper Han dodged earlier has completely hijacked the captain's brain. Before anyone can even react, another disgusting critter burrows into the poor rookie, turning him into a zombie too. Cutting back to the maze, Ifan casually clutches up and rips Bai out of that suffocating flesh trap. Bai stares at him, asking if he is even sweating the insane danger they are in, but Ifan just shrugs it off. Bai admits she is low-key jealous of his broken skill, letting him pull off insane stunts without ever fading out. But Ifan kills the vibe, explaining that dodging the Grim Reaper forever isn't a flex, it is pure endless torture. He then flat out tells Bai they should just throw in the towel, since there is literally zero escape. Bai whips her head around shocked, and she smirks, asking who on earth decided they were permanently stuck here. Ifan blanks out totally clueless, demanding to know if she actually has an extraction plan up her sleeve. Bai just presses her palm against the barrier and pops her ability, instantly melting the massive barricade into gooey puddles. Ifan loses his mind over this insane clutch, realizing they actually have a solid shot at making it out alive. As the meat wall collapses, Han's silhouette appears in the distance, and Bai excitedly shouts his name. Han smashes through the remaining debris on his end, finally linking back up with his squad. Bai flexes hard, excitedly bragging to Han about how she literally vaporized the creepy labyrinth with her powers. But right in the middle of her hype moment, a colossal stone hand bursts from the shadows, lunging straight for Bai, and Ifan Han shrieks a warning. But the massive fist is dropping way too fast for either of them to dodge. Right before they get pancaked into the dirt, Han pops his ultimate skill and cleanly slices the gargantuan arm right off. Han leaps right onto the front line, barking at his crew to stay locked behind his back. Pure terror washes over the duo as a skyscraper-sized golem towers above them, and as the beast winds up for a brutal strike, Han braces himself, throwing up an absolute fortress. He miraculously tanks the monster's heavy blow, but the massive shockwave physically yeets Bai and Ifan across the battlefield. Han yells out that these nightmare creatures are just infinite spawns being cranked out by the Wanderer, which basically means they have to absolutely obliterate the main boss's body right this second, or they are toast. Han connects the dots. The Wanderer fused completely with the Dark World the second it dropped the Black Veil, leaving only that shadowy orb behind. So, the winning strat is incredibly simple. Shatter the pitch black. Bai and Ifan hype him up, telling Han to focus entirely on his objective while they cover his 6. The colossal rock giant charges the duo. Ifan instantly activates his invincibility cheat code, taking a brutal haymaker straight to the jaw. But he screams out a massive warning. His god mode can only tank exactly 6 hits, so Han better find a. They desperately need a clutch play before those 6 strikes completely burn out. Han locks his sights onto the glowing orb, frantically weaving together a devastating power rune designed to instantly obliterate the target in a single shot. The sheer magnitude of this spell violently sucks in the surrounding energy, creating an insane shockwave that practically rips Ifan to absolute shreds. With a fierce yell, Han detonates the blazing rune right into the barrier, violently smashing the entire structure into microscopic dust. Ifan stands there totally hyped, instantly celebrating their massive dub, but Han suddenly screams at him to run for his life. Whipping his head around, Ifan completely freezes. Blood is already pouring down Han's face, and out of nowhere, a fully grown nightmare tier wanderer materializes directly in their path. The monstrous beast sneers that nobody is walking out of here alive, causing Ifan to literally almost wet his pants from pure terror, when Bai suddenly steps out from behind the creature, speaking in a deeply twisted, unsettling tone. She smirks, telling the boys that this massive monster is a. Bai reveals she totally faked her entire innocent vibe, hiding the deadly beast right under their noses while waiting for the absolute perfect second to let it off the leash, and finally deliver the ultimate killing strike. Han is genuinely shook, frantically demanding to know why she would ever betray them like this. Bai just lets out this absolutely psychotic laugh, casually stating she simply wants to slaughter them both. But weirdly enough, literal tears are streaming down her face, as a glowing demonic insignia violently burns itself directly into the center of her pupil. Tripping out hard, Ifan panics and begs Han to explain what the heck is actually wrong with her eyes. Han instantly pieces the horrible truth together, swearing he isn't going crazy, because when Ifan aggressively questions him, Han drops a totally terrifying truth bomb. Bai has been completely hijacked by a parasite. Ifan's brain practically short-circuits, so Han grimly explains that the twisted glowing mark in her eyes is the legendary signature of the infamous mind-eroding worm. Turns out this nasty bug is a Tier 4 demonic insect wielding an absolutely cracked ability known as total cognitive corruption. Once this thing burrows into a victim's skull, their consciousness gets instantly erased, turning them into a helpless puppet, completely steered by the bug. But that isn't even the scariest part, because this nightmare pest can rapidly clone itself and spread like a literal virus. Back in the day, an absolute 7th-star powerhouse got his mind hijacked by one of these things, and he brutally butchered his entire hometown, the very people he swore to protect, turning the streets into a literal bloodbath paved with endless bodies. The guild basically had to burn through endless cash and an insane army of hunters just to finally put him in the ground, but their squad still suffered catastrophic blood-spilling loss. Han's mind races. The first district supposedly wiped these lethal freaks off the map 32 years ago. So how the hell are these parasitic monsters still crawling around?
Ifan screams at Han to bolt, swearing to hold the line, but Han shuts that down fast, letting him know escape is impossible, because the adult wanderer's sinister black veil just devoured the corpse of the younger beast, exploding its deadly kill zone by 10 times its original size. Han drops the grim reality: if they run at their current speed, they'll be slaughtered long before they cross the edge of that dark barrier. Instead, Han begs Ifan to stall the monster just long enough to charge up one ultimate attack. Without missing a beat, Han channels his aura to patch up his brutal wounds. Spotting this, Bai completely loses her mind, shrieking at the Wanderer to tear Han apart. The creature unleashes a blinding energy beam from its palm, but Ifan's glowing shield tanks the hit effortlessly. Out of nowhere, Bai sneaks up on Ifan, tapping his shoulder to infect his mind with her illusionary powers. She whispers that his invincibility is a total sham, but instead of buying her toxic gaslighting, Ifan delivers a savage headbutt right to her face. He growls that his powers aren't up for debate. As Bai crumbles to the dirt, a grotesque parasite erupts from her skull and rockets straight at Ifan. The vile bug sinks its fangs in, permanently slashing Ifan's shield reserves down to just 2 charges. Furious, Ifan rips the parasite off and crushes it into bloody mush. Realizing the tank's invincibility has a hard cap, the adult wanderer launches into the sky, charging up another lethal blast, taunting Ifan with a sickening grin, mocking him to see how long he can actually survive this hell. The destructive beam crashes down again, but Ifan stubbornly holds the line, deflecting the nightmare wave just like before. Sweating bullets, Ifan frantically screams at Han, begging to know how much time is left. But Han is already fully charged and locked in. He orders Yue and Ifan to wipe out the eroding worm while he personally executes the big boss. Surging with power, Han triggers his ultimate technique, the 8 quick fists, smirking at the monster and giving it props for actually pushing him to go absolutely all out. Han explodes forward like a bullet, aiming to punch the beast into orbit, but the agile monster sidesteps the fatal blow, and Han obliterates a solid wall instead. Unfazed, the freakish wanderer regurgitates a massive blade straight out of its own throat, actually complementing Han's raw power, totally caught off guard. Then it ruthlessly swings its fleshy sword, unleashing a catastrophic shockwave that literally slices the landscape in half. The monster arrogantly waits to see Han get shredded, but Han casually catches the world-ending slash with his armored gauntlet. The Wanderer's eyes widen in pure terror when it spots that specific armor on Han's arm, instantly recognizing the legendary gear that slaughtered one of their almighty Zerg kings 10 years ago. It sneers at Han, spitting that such god-tier weaponry belongs to absolute legends, a club Han definitely isn't in. Han aggressively charges back in, openly admitting he might be a nobody right now, but at the same time, flexing that this knockoff wanderer is absolutely no Zerg king either. Han connects a bone-crushing haymaker, setting off a massive shockwave that tremors the entire battlefield. He unleashes a savage barrage of fists, landing a few with brutal force while the slick creature manages to weave through the rest. The monster connects the dots, stating the original owner of that gauntlet clearly cares deeply for this kid, meaning if it rips Han to pieces, that legendary warrior will be emotionally destroyed. Drunk on that sadistic thought, the monster completely flips the script, going purely on the offensive. Under the insane pressure, Han finally leaves an opening, and the Wanderer violently impales Han's shoulder with its blade before launching him backward like a ragdoll. Hitting the dirt, Han has a massive reality check he needs to execute this beast right now, before it finishes digesting the younger monster's power. If it hits its final form, he won't stand a ghost of a chance. Taking a deep breath, Han centers his mind, locking into a state of hyper-focus. It hits him. This is exactly the absolute do-or-die scenario his master always preached about. With his literal survival hanging by a thread, Han forcefully awakens the second tier of the 8 quick fists. No more holding back. Moving faster than the eye can track, Han blurs across the battlefield and buries a cataclysmic punch into the monster before it even flinches. The brutal impact completely obliterates the Wanderer. As its body violently explodes into a million jagged pieces, Han smirks, proudly claiming a hard-fought win. But the nightmare isn't over. The Wanderer's severed head groans out a chilling mock, telling Han he is dead wrong. He is the real loser here. Han stares in pure dread as the monster's shattered remains rapidly fuse back together. Making matters worse, Yifan frantically shouts that Bai has completely vanished. Before Han can even process this bombshell, the beast launches a massive boulder straight at their heads, roaring that nobody leaves this place alive. Yifan steps up to tank the crushing weight, but his immortality gauge instantly plummets to absolute zero. Coughing up blood, he desperately begs Han to run. Han instantly realizes his friend is at his absolute breaking point. Out of nowhere, a colossal glowing palm manifests right. The squad stares at the sky in pure shock, minds totally blown. Against all odds, their legendary master Shu Tong just swooped in to save the day. Shutong flashes a confident grin, glad he crashed the deadly party just in time. Seeing his mentor standing there, Han finally lets out a massive breath of relief. But the brutal adrenaline crash hits him like a truck. His vision rapidly blurs and he instantly blacks out. Shutong quickly commands Yifan and Yue Wei to haul the unconscious Han safely back to the city. He casually mentions having some messy loose ends to tie up here. Yifan heavily furrows his brows, totally clueless about what kind of dark extermination their master is actually hinting at. While they hash it out, the scene shifts to the horrifying queen bug violently slithering away into the distance. Fast forward, Han violently jolts awake in a sterile hospital bed, frantically screaming at the top of his lungs for his master to watch his back. His adrenaline-fueled brain is completely fried. He has zero clue that Yue Wei is sitting right by his side, her face instantly lighting up with immense joy seeing his eyes open. But Han is still totally spinning. He groggily demands to know their location. She gently breaks the news that he is safe in a medical ward, carefully explaining the crazy aftermath of his sudden blackout. Shutong went on an absolute rampage, slaughtering the remaining insect swarm. But since that elusive queen pulled a total vanishing act, they had no choice but to evacuate Han for emergency care. Panic instantly setting in, Han urgently asks about Yifan's condition. Yue Wei lets out a heavy, heartbreaking sigh, dropping the bomb that their friend is fighting for his life in intensive care. She reveals the horrifying reality. His entire skeletal structure and energy pathways were practically pulverized by that gigantic meteor he tried to tank. Honestly, if he didn't possess that insane regeneration hack, he would be straight up dead right now. He barely cheated the Grim Reaper, and the physical trauma is insanely critical. However, she quickly offers a tiny glimmer of hope. His overpowered passive ability is miraculously stitching his ruined. Without warning, a frantic nurse violently kicks the door wide open, screaming out that Yifan has completely vanished from his bed. Han's jaw literally hits the hospital floor. Yue Wei quickly pieces the puzzle together, reminding him about their master's strict top-secret mandate. They were directly tasked with hunting down those parasitic freaks solo. And since Bai's mysterious kidnapping directly ties back to that disgusting hive, she heavily suspects that the stubborn guy ripped out his. Han rigidly agrees, stating Bai is the ultimate missing puzzle piece. Since these nasty critters endlessly clone themselves, tracking down and assassinating the Alpha Queen is their only real shot. Severing the head of the snake will instantly wipe the entire grotesque swarm off the map in one swift blow. Han bets his own life that Yifan uncovered a massive clue prompting his solo stealth mission. But then Yue Wei's expression deeply darkens as she drops another major bombshell. The shady Guardian Syndicate just blatantly robbed their battered squad of 100 hard-earned ranking points. Absolutely furious, Han demands a valid reason. She bitterly explains that the corrupt higher-ups claim Shutong stole the final kill, completely voiding their brutal efforts. Worse yet, every single rival faction also took a massive point penalty, just for spectacularly failing the raid. Han's blood is absolutely boiling right now. They literally bled and sacrificed their lives on those horrific front lines. Yet those cowardly suits are pulling these slimy political moves from the shadows. Adding serious salt to the wound, Yue states they didn't just hijack their score. The greedy rats also shamelessly looted the Wanderer's entire carcass, sweeping the battlefield totally clean. Every single ultra-rare loot drop was secretly smuggled right back to the Guardian headquarters. Han fiercely questions if their master pushed back against this. She relays Shutong's chilling message. He declared this is an exclusive bloody turf war between their faction and the greedy Guardians, meaning absolutely no outside forces will dare to stick. Reading perfectly between the lines, a vicious smirk creeps onto Han's face. The old man is giving them the ultimate green light to raise absolute hell, silently promising to cover their tracks. Ripping the hospital blankets off, Han makes a savage choice. They are kicking down the doors of the Association Tower right now to forcefully reclaim their stolen loot. Cut to the corrupt officials arrogantly partying it up, celebrating their free haul. Suddenly, Han and Yue Wei violently blast the heavy double doors completely off their hinges, dripping with killing intent. Han loudly roars, ordering the cowardly Wu to drag his pathetic self out into the open. An arrogant lackey foolishly steps up to the plate, loudly mocking Han for crashing their little VIP party without a polite invitation. Unfazed, Han coldly repeats his terrifying ultimatum. Feeling deeply disrespected, the reckless guard immediately launches a flashy ambush. Big mistake. Han effortlessly swats the guy straight into the floor. Stepping right over the trash, Han fully detonates his oppressive aura, violently suffocating. The rest of the crew absolutely loses their minds, staring in pure shock after watching Han one-shot their buddy into next week with a single slap. Cell phones instantly shoot up to record the brutal beatdown, as they threaten to blast the footage straight to the top brass to prove Han is going totally rogue. Suddenly, the guy from earlier scrambles to his feet and lunges at Han with a gleaming blade, but Han effortlessly manhandles him like a literal ragdoll. He is busy tossing the guy across the room when Hu finally struts onto the scene, barking at Han to drop him immediately. Han just smirks, roasting him for finally dragging his garbage self out of hiding. Hu snaps back, demanding to know what his endgame is, and Han coldly fires back that he expects a full-blown apology for his entire squad. But Hu just scoffs, calling Han completely delusional. Flexing his fake authority, Hu asks his goons if they forwarded the clip to headquarters, and they eagerly nod. Actually, they beamed it straight to Su Ming-Xuan, the terrifying vice head of the Oversight Committee. Hu smirks triumphantly, telling Han he is absolutely cooked because the second the big bosses see him throwing hands on company time, it is going to be game over for him. Yue clutches her hands, whispering that she is terrified of the fallout, but Han brushes it off with a confident grin. He knows that with Shu Tong in their corner, they are practically untouchable. Right on cue, Hugh's radio crackles with an incoming message from the top brass, and he eagerly demands to hear his victory sentence. Sweating bullets, the goon stutters out that headquarters essentially told them to sort out their own mess, brushing the whole brawl off as a petty internal squabble. To make matters worse, the Oversight guys were actually hyped by Han's brutal combat skills, literally asking if they could recruit him instead. Hu furiously rips his earpiece out, his face turning red with rage as he realizes he is getting totally clowned by some useless bureaucratic red tape. Stepping up to him, Han calmly asks if he is finally ready to beg for forgiveness, forcing a cornered Hu to growl and ask what his price is. Han casually drops the bomb. He knows Hu snatched the rare Wanderer loot that his squad practically bled to secure. As payback, Han demands VIP access to the faction's sacred treasure vault, claiming he gets to cherry-pick gear until his wallet is happy. As a massive compensation payout for his crew, Hu instantly rejects the insane idea, screaming that the vault is packed with god-tier artifacts. Han acts completely shocked, mocking Hu for being so stingy when a normal guy can barely carry 2 items out with his bare hands anyway. The logic suddenly clicks in Hu's brain. He figures Han's carrying capacity is a total joke, so he smugly seals the deal, but throws in a strict rule. Han goes in completely solo, and the second he steps out, he is getting a full pat-down to guarantee he hasn't stashed any extra loot inside his pockets. Han happily accepts the terms, secretly hiding his ultimate cheat code, the dimensional storage ring that Shu Tong gifted him earlier. Striding right into the glowing armory, Han slams the heavy doors shut behind him, leaving Hu's right-hand man sweating and asking if they just made a huge mistake. He is terrified this stunt is going to backfire spectacularly, but Hu arrogantly waves him off, bragging that the room holds tens of thousands of mysterious relics, most of which are completely unidentifiable. He is fully betting that Han will be paralyzed by the overwhelming choices. Plus, his physical inventory space is severely capped, even if he somehow spots the rarest drop in the pile. The sidekick eagerly kisses up to his boss, praising Hu's brilliant galaxy brain logic. Meanwhile, safely inside the vault, Han instantly busts out a master appraisal guide, grinning as he realizes he just walked into an absolute goldmine. His eyes dart across the room, locking onto the most legendary artifacts on the shelves. Without hesitating, he fires up the magical ring, transforming it into a literal vacuum to suck up every single piece of high-tier loot. Fast forward exactly 1 hour, and Hu is pacing outside, starting to sweat over the massive delay. But right on cue, the heavy doors swing open, and Han strolls out, flashing a cheeky smile and thanking them for their patience. Yue sprints up to him, desperately whispering to know how much he grabbed, but Han just gives her a sly wink, promising to spill the tea once they are safe at home. As the duo walks away, Hu and his squad are left totally baffled, staring at Han's completely empty hands. Feeling super paranoid, Hu furiously dials the armory manager for a quick damage report. The manager stammers over the comms, and Hu starts celebrating early, thinking Han barely touched the inventory. But his victory dance dies instantly when the manager screams that he is totally wrong, because Han somehow vacuumed up exactly 50% of every single treasure inside the entire. Hu completely loses his mind at this news, swearing that he won't let Han walk away from such immense disrespect. In his eyes, Han should have just grabbed 1 or 2 scraps, not the whole stash. Furious, Hu barks at his assistant to call headquarters for backup. The lackey drops a bomb, admitting he already tried, but HQ totally shut them down, leaving Hu completely crushed. Meanwhile, Han strolls back to his crib, totally hyped about destroying Hu. He can't help but laugh, wondering if that loser will ever dare to flex on him again. Right at that moment, rocking absolutely nothing but a bath towel. Giving him a smoldering look, she whispers that it is getting super late and he needs to come to bed. Han's face instantly ignites into a massive blush. Flustered, he stammers, asking what on earth she means by that. Yue softens, admitting his last brutal injury terrified her. She refuses to lose him again, meaning he has zero chance of slipping away tonight. Things are getting seriously spicy when, out of nowhere, a random girl in a totally sheer slip dress wanders right into the living room. Panicking, Yue launches herself off Han's body like a rocket. Neither of them had a clue they were sharing the house with a total stranger. Han demands to, leaving them totally clueless about her identity. Han's jaw asking if she's seriously Shutong's granddaughter. She hits them with a confident nod, dropping the bombshell that she's the one and only Ling Jin. She casually flexes that she already did her homework on him. Meanwhile, Han is secretly scanning her player stats, only to spot something absolutely insane. She's casually packing a legendary item, the Shenong Cauldron. His mind is totally blown, realizing that she is literally one of the 10 mythical relics. Snapping back to reality, he awkwardly questions if strutting around in just her sleepwear is really the vibe for having company over. She just brushes it off, claiming this breezy fit is her ultimate comfort zone, and lounging like this actually fuels her creative genius. Yue raises an eyebrow, demanding to know what she means by that. Ling Jin proudly boasts that she's actually a super popular novelist. With a sly smirk, Ling Jin drops a quick "my bad" for totally crashing Yue's intimate moment, playfully daring her to pick up right where she left off. When Yue freezes up in pure panic, Ling Jin boldly warns that if she hesitates, she'll gladly swoop in and steal her spot. Ling Jin literally lunges toward Han, but Yue frantically yanks her back, screaming that she just met the guy. And honestly, their emotional chemistry is practically non-existent right now. But Ling Jin completely brushes that off, claiming you don't need some deep, spiritual bond to forge a pact. Yue is totally caught off guard by this wild take. Meanwhile, Han steps in, confirming that Ling Jin is literally packing divine energy, and if she binds herself to him, he can trigger his ultra-rare skill to force her second awakening. Hearing this, Ling Jin absolutely loses her mind with hype. Without skipping a beat, she grabs her collar, ready to rip her top right open, just to speedrun this whole pack situation. Han freezes, looking complete by her chaotic energy. Blinking in pure disbelief, he frantically asks her what on earth she thinks she is doing. She casually drops that she is just trying to seal the deal, prompting Han to wildly question why signing a contract requires stripping down. Deadpan Ling Jin explains that in literally every fantasy novel she has read, forging a magical bond demands some seriously up-close and personal physical contact. Han lets out this massive, exhausted sigh. He finally realizes she is totally brainwashed by web novels, muttering that he really needs to save this girl from herself. Flicking his wrist, Han unleashes his divine radiance. The blinding holy light triggers her second awakening, instantly vaporizing her sleepwear in the sheer blast of aura, and sending a surge of pure, glowing warmth straight through her core. This massive power-up against all odds, it actually works. And boom, Ling Jin successfully unlocked. Turns out the legendary Shenong Cauldron can literally melt items down into their absolute raw essence. Han's jaw practically, because her insane new talent can straight up siphon spiritual energy translation. He now has an unlimited cheat code to harvest pure, unfiltered power, making it ridiculously easy to smash through his level caps down the road. Realizing her skill is totally overpowered, Han hypes her up to take it for a test drive right that second. Yue gives them some space, slipping away to fetch some water while they experiment. But while she is filling her canteen, she catches these super out-of-context breathy noises echoing from their spot, sounding way too spicy, like they are getting super freaky. Freaking out, Yue drops everything, only to find these two absolute dorks just aggressively stuffing raw materials deep into the giant cauldron. The cauldron soon spits out a flawless spiritual energy pill. Han flexes the fresh loot, explaining that swallowing this will permanently buff his overall spiritual energy by a solid 1%. Yue is completely shook by this crazy hack, but without warning, Ling Jin violently tackles Han to the dirt, urgently telling him that intense heat burning inside her, yeah, it definitely hasn't faded. She practically tackles Han, begging him to cool her off. Homeboy totally panics, desperately signaling Yue for a rescue mission, but plot twist, Yue's eyes darken and she jumps right into the fray instead. The girls double-team our guy, dragging him into an insanely steamy absolute blur of a late-night session. Fast forward to morning, and Han peels his eyes open, looking like his soul just left his body. The man is completely drained. Meanwhile, the ladies are practically glowing, patting him on the back for putting up a solid fight. Han desperately changes the subject, shaking off the brain fog to remind them they have actual work to do. Ling Zhen tilts her head, totally clueless. He sighs, laying out the endgame, hunting down the queen bug and locating their missing squadmates. When Ling Zhen presses for details on the missing VIP, Yue smoothly slides a snapshot of Bai across the table. Ling Zhen's eyes lock onto the photo, and she immediately gasps, recognizing the face. Yue raises an eyebrow, demanding the tea. It turns out our girl Ling Zhen is a regular at the exact same VIP lounge as the target. We are talking about Breeze nightclub, literally the most hyped massive venue. He honestly didn't think they'd score a massive clue this fast. Without missing a beat, Han whips out a sketchy-looking metal canister, and he aggressively mists the girls with whatever is inside, declaring it is officially time to hit the club. The squad immediately gags, pinching their noses at the absolutely foul stench. They furiously demand to know what kind of chemical warfare he just unleashed on their outfits. Han smirks, revealing it is a highly concentrated hawthorn flower extract. Apparently, the parasitic bugs are insanely triggered by this specific scent. Like one whiff of this stuff and the monsters completely lose their minds, turning hyper-aggressive and straight-up feral. Stepping into the neon-lit chaos of the club, Han zeroes in on the bartender casually leaning over the counter to ask about a girl named Bai. Except he drops her street alias. The second that name, catching the crew completely off guard, the guy suddenly hoists a massive bottle of premium liquor into the air. He grabs a mic, announcing to the entire packed dance floor that Han is picking up everyone's tab tonight. The crowd absolutely erupts in cheers, losing their minds over the free booze while Han is left standing there looking utterly stunned. He grabs the bartender, demanding an explanation for this stunt. The guy leans in, revealing that just 24 hours ago a mystery guest rolled up. This dude racked up a monstrous bar tab, then casually dipped, claiming whoever came around asking for Bai would foot the massive bill. Yue's jaw drops at the audacity. She nudges Han, whispering frantically to figure out who just set them up. Han just waves it off, telling her not to stress. He is already dead certain that this. The bartender then slides a sleek locked box across the sticky counter. He admits he tried to pry the thing open himself, but the mechanism would not budge. Han snatches up the stash. With a quick, effortless flick, he pops the lock right open, pulling out a crumpled piece of. Scanning the frantic handwriting, Han learns that Yifan and his brother Yiming had totally cleared out an ancient ruin nearby. After returning with the loot, the Guardian faction showered them with rewards. So naturally, the entire squad hit up this exact club to party hard. But things took a dark turn just 4 weeks later. Yiming got dragged back to the deadly front lines under super shady circumstances, and since that day, complete radio silence. Right around that same time, Vice Captain Hu conveniently swooped in to snatch the leadership spot. The letter then drops an absolute bombshell of a fact. It clearly states if they manage to assassinate the queen bug, every single parasite connected to her hive mind will instantly drop dead. Ling Zhen stares at the paper, her brain basically short-circuiting. She turns to Han, desperately trying to decode Yifan's cryptic warning. Han pieces the puzzle together out loud. The queen's spawning cycle kicked off back in February, meaning there are exactly 7 of these nightmare parasites roaming the streets right now. The terrifying realization finally hits Ling Zhen like a truck. Han tells the girls to hold their ground for a second while he hits the bathroom. Pushing through the swinging restroom doors, he brushes past a random guy standing near the sinks. Out of nowhere, the dude's nostrils flare. The hawthorn spray on Han's jacket triggers him, and the guy launches himself at Han with pure feral rage. But Han doesn't even flinch. Without taking a single step, he effortlessly swats the attacker away. The guy slams violently onto the bathroom tiles, and a grotesque parasite rips itself out of the dude's flesh. Han's hand shoots out, catching the nasty critter midair and crushing it like a grape. Just as the girls burst through the door, weapons drawn frantically, screaming to no, Han wipes his hand calmly, explaining that the guy crumpled on the floor, who happens to be the actual owner of this club, was totally infected. But he's already handled the trash. With one host down and a confirmed total of 7 out there, Yue shivers, her mind spiraling as she wonders where the other 6 monsters are currently lurking. A chilling thought crosses Ling Zhen's mind. She mutters that Yiming's missing squad might already be walking, breathing hosts for the bugs. Han immediately calls the play. They need to bounce from this club right now to hunt down fresh leads, but suddenly, out of nowhere, another dude charges at Han, swinging a massive blade. Han effortlessly sidesteps the strike, delivering a brutal kick that sends the attacker crashing to the floor. Plot twist, this guy is infected too, but before the creepy crawler can scurry away, Han ruthlessly crushes it. Yue spots the knocked-out thug and instantly recognizes him as one of Hu's dirty henchmen. Boom! The realization hits Han like a freight train. Every single infected person ties straight back to the Breeze Ballroom. It all started with Yiming, the big boss of the joint. Honestly, every victim had visited that club, and all their strings lead back to one ultimate puppet master Hu. In a flash, Han pieces together Yifan's next move. He is heading straight into the Lion's Den Hu's hideout. Meanwhile, Hu is living it up with his girl when Yifan violently kicks the door open, radiating pure rage. Yifan absolutely goes off screaming that Hu straight up murdered Yiming to steal his throne. Not just that, but he weaponized those nasty parasite bugs to crush top-tier awakened ones and spirit bonders. Yifan is losing his mind that this monster is still walking free, but Hu just smirks, mockingly reminding Yifan that his girl just bit the dust. He taunts him, saying he should be crying in a corner instead of barking at the big boss. Fueled by fury, Ifan roars back, blaming Hu for the entire nightmare and declaring he is here for blood. Hu does not even flinch coldly, telling Ifan to blame his dead girlfriend's terrible luck instead of pointing fingers. Then Hu drops a sinister smile, asking if Ifan forgot about backup. Before Ifan can even blink, heavily armed goons flood the room. Hu coldly commands his squad to eliminate the intruder for daring to attack a high-ranking guardian. Seeing the mob close in, Ifan braces for a deadly brawl. But right on cue, Han swaggers onto the battlefield, literally one-shotting the entire mob of henchmen. Hu and Ifan are left completely speechless. Ifan stammers, demanding to know why Han crashed the party. Han just smirks, asking if he seriously thought he would survive without their rescue. Ifan stays silent, knowing exactly who just saved his life. Hu glares at Han, questioning if he is seriously choosing to back Ifan. Han ignores him and drops a chilling warning to the remaining goons. He tells them to back off and save their own lives because this beef is strictly between him and Hu. Unluckily for them, these loyal minions choose violence and charge straight at Han. Since they picked the hard way, Han unleashes absolute hell, dismantling them one by one without breaking a sweat. In mere seconds, the entire crew is out cold on the floor. Even Ifan is totally mind-blown by the speed of the massacre. It is crystal clear now Han has reached a godly level of martial arts mastery. Suddenly, Ling Zhen shouts a warning. Hu is making a run for it. Instantly, Han locks onto his target, radiating pure killer instinct. Han closes the gap and delivers a bone-shattering punch to Hu's chest, slamming him hard into the concrete. The second Hu hits the deck, a disgusting parasite bursts from his skull, but Han violently stomps it out before it can escape. But Han is not celebrating just yet. He grimaces, realizing this nasty critter is definitely not the queen bug. The waking henchmen absolutely lose their minds, realizing their boss has been permanently flatlined. They start screaming hysterically, asking Han if he has completely lost his mind, as they instantly frame him for the murder. A cold realization washes over Han. They just walked straight into a massive setup. Flashback to 1 hour ago. A female assistant stepped into the city lord's office for a quick signature, only to be greeted by the horrifying sight of the queen parasite writhing right out of his skull. The poor woman screamed her lungs out, but no one was around to save her. Cutting back to Hu's mansion, Han desperately orders his squad to fall back and find Shu Tong, knowing he is the only guy who can fix this total disaster. But his crew completely ignores the order, boldly swearing to ride or die with him no matter what. Meanwhile, the possessed city lord Kang Chuan officially slaps a massive bounty and an arrest warrant on Han. A twisted demonic smirk creeps across his face. He honestly never... Back on the ground, Han is about to ditch his squad to keep them safe when suddenly an eerie old man descends from the sky on a bizarre flying machine. The mysterious elder coldly announces that he knows exactly what Han just did, murdering a high-ranking official. He commands Han to drop to his knees. Han fiercely resists, but the sheer crushing pressure of the old man's aura forcefully slams him face first into the dirt. At the exact same moment, Shang is holding an intense secret meeting with Shu Tong, dialing in via a high-tech hologram. Shang beams into the meeting using a digital clone, completely dodging Shu Tong's demands to drop the act and reveal his actual endgame. Instead, he drops a massive bombshell. Shu Tong's star pupil has been snatched up and is scheduled for elimination tomorrow. Shu Tong absolutely snaps. He's ready to obliterate the hologram, but quickly catches himself, realizing throwing hands with a projection is completely pointless. Forced to stand down, he glares intensely, warning Shang that the real fireworks haven't even started yet. Once the projection fades, Lin frantically asks if there's a rescue op for Han. Taking a deep breath, Shu Tong admits he might have let the villains hold way too many cards. He is furious that they actually think taking Han gives them the upper hand, completely oblivious to the fact that his student might just be a lethal Trojan horse. Equating their deadly survival game to a massive chessboard, Shu Tong drops a proud smirk, praising Han for playing his role flawlessly up to this point. Cut to a grim, dimly lit cell. That crusty old interrogator from earlier demands a confession, but Han just stares him down coldly, stating he hasn't done a single thing wrong. The brutal old man viciously slams a fist into Han's chest, barking at him to wake up and smell the coffee, because absolutely zero backup is coming. And yes, that includes his precious mentor, Shu Tong. Leaning in close, the old guy lays out a harsh ultimatum with exactly 2 options. Option 1. Flip sides and join the dark side. They couldn't care less about his messy history. They are the shiny new future, while Shu Tong is just a washed-up relic of the past. Option 2. Stay stubborn, keep his mouth shut, and catch a one-way ticket to the chopping block tomorrow morning. Connecting the dots in his head, Han shoots back, finally realizing that Yiming was the one who stumbled upon the Stage 4 parasite and smuggled it straight into the city limits. The old villain smirks, nodding along. He casually drops the insane logic that the monster bug isn't actually the bad guy as long as it's controlled right. In their twisted minds, it's the ultimate overpowered weapon. Locking eyes with his captor, Han lets out a eager for a surrender. The old dude leans in only for Han to completely disrespect him by choosing a non-existent third option, sending the interrogator into an absolute rage. Fast forward to the next morning. The public elimination is getting broadcasted live everywhere, framing Han for taking out a massive VIP in the syndicate. Chuan gets the green light from his lackeys. The stage is set, the cameras are rolling, and the deadly show is about to go down. Chuan immediately asks if they've managed to bag Han's squad yet, but his officer nervously shakes his head no. The officer admits the trio is way too slippery, guessing they're probably laying low. Barking orders, Chuan sends his goons to hunt them down. But beneath his bossy exterior, paranoia is slowly creeping in. Han is acting way too chill for a guy facing a giant blade. Up on the execution block, Han isn't even breaking a sweat. He's totally zen because his master strictly instructed him to let the chaos unfold naturally. He has zero doubts. He knows his mentor has already cooked up an epic, foolproof master plan. The massive crowd gathered to watch the live final judgment is completely shook. Everyone knows he's an absolute prodigy. Right as the tension peaks, Chuan swaggers onto the main stage to grab the mic. The audience totally loses their minds, visibly shocked that a top-tier. Working the crowd, Chuan loudly brands Han as a ruthless rogue who eliminated countless lives and teamed up with the enemy to unleash the parasite plague straight into their home turf. With that one incredibly toxic speech, he brilliantly manipulates the entire mob into taking his side. The crowd instantly turns feral, roaring in agreement that Han deserves the ultimate penalty for such unforgivable treason. A wicked, satisfied smirk stretches across Chuan's face. The vibe is perfectly manipulated, so he signals the executioner to drop the weapon. Han braces himself as the giant razor-sharp blade dangerously dangles right above his neck, a split second away from ending his run for good. But plot twist. The deadly contraption completely jams up, leaving the executioner scratching his head looking like an absolute clown. Chuan instantly clocks the sabotage. He fiercely snaps, screaming to the crowd to show who actually dared to hack the system. Right on cue, Siding pushes through the chaotic mob like an absolute boss, flanked by a squad of heavily armed bodyguards. She loudly rejects Chuan's twisted justice, boldly declaring to Chuan's blood starts boiling. He aggressively demands to know if Siding's powerful family is officially declaring war by stopping this elimination. Out of nowhere, Han's squad dramatically throws off their cloaks, stepping up to the plate and telling Chuan exactly where he can shove his verdict. Cut back to the leaders. Shang gloats to Shu Tong, smugly declaring it's game over since Han's neck is literally on the chopping block. But Shu Tong doesn't even flinch. He fires back a cold, confident glare, swearing that the final whistle hasn't blown. Warning his rival not to count his chickens before they hatch, Shu Tong forces Shang to sit back. Suddenly, Shu Tong's earpiece buzzes. His intel team admits they struck out trying to pinpoint the mastermind pulling the strings. But they drop one hell of a silver lining. They just uncovered a massive shadow syndicate secretly running the entire operation. The shady syndicate pulling the strings. They go by Dawnbreak. Cut back to the execution plaza. The crowd is absolutely shook. Someone actually crashed the party, out of thin air, flipping the entire script. The vibe instantly shifts. With the Shang family stepping into the ring, this mess just leveled up to a whole new tier of crazy. Siding grabs the spotlight, dropping a massive truth bomb. Chuan has been playing them all. Han isn't some rogue criminal. He's the literal shield standing between them and total annihilation. She points straight at the jumbotrons. Boom. Raw footage hits the screens, showing Han absolutely wrecking those Zerg nightmares, while putting his own life on the line for the citizens. She makes it crystal clear Han bleeds for this city. A guy dropping bodies to keep civilians breathing doesn't just wake up and decide to commit treason. Right on cue, that crusty old geezer from earlier materializes. His voice booms like a shockwave, ordering the entire plaza to shut their mouths. He arrogantly flexes that wiping Han off the map is an official Dawnbreak op. Interfere, and you're catching smoke. This dude launches a colossal energy strike, meant to obliterate Han. But before it connects, a massive invisible force swats it away, counter-striking the geezer so violently that he gets launched straight into orbit. The raw impact turns him to absolute dust. The crowd is left gasping, eyes darting around wildly to figure out who just one-shotted this powerhouse. Siding catches a glimpse from the corner of her eye, its Shu Tong casually fading into the shadows. But Chuan, this dude is straight up refusing to take the L. He blitzes Han with killing intent. Too late. Han shatters his restraints. His master already set the stage. So now it's his turn to clean house. Han casually sidesteps Chuan's desperate lunge. Chuan freezes, totally glitching out at Han's godly speed. In a blink, Han teleports behind him and delivers a ruthless double palm strike right to the dome, burying his face straight into the concrete. Disgusting but expected, the gross Zerg Queen rips its way out of Chuan's skull. It tries to scurry off, but Han snatches it midair and crushes it like a grape. The whole plaza goes dead silent. They just watched a massive parasite crawl out of their city lord's brain only for Han to paste it. Han hoists the squashed alien up like a cursed trophy, broadcasting the ugly truth these parasites are pulling the strings to wipe out the human race. He lays it out plain and simple. Every drop of blood he spilled has been to protect their future. The light bulb finally clicks for the crowd. The city lord hadn't gone crazy. His brain was hijacked by a literal space bug. Shutong finally steps out of stealth mode, smirking as he asks if Han enjoyed dancing on the edge of death. Han chuckles, admitting that having an overpowered master on cleanup duty is an absolute cheat code. But he looks his master in the eye and swears he's ready to handle his own battles. Shutong gives him his props, confirming the kid crushed it, and explaining that sniping the queen basically hit the kill switch on the rest of the hive mind. Still, he hits Han with a reality check, going full Terminator mode and blasting everything in sight means they totally wiped out any breadcrumbs leading back to Dawnbreak. Han raises an eyebrow. Dawnbreak Shutong sighs, revealing it's a super shady underground syndicate that has already sunk its claws into the Guardian ranks. The scary part, they're basically operating totally in the dark right now. A chill runs down Han's spine. The fact that an entire ghost organization is breathing down their necks without anyone noticing, that's terrifying. Vibe instantly crashes as Yifan rolls up with gut-wrenching news they recovered Bai's body. The aftermath is brutal. Over 1,000 innocent lives were wiped out by the parasite swarm. The city organizes a massive, heartbreaking sea burial for the fallen victims, and tragically, Bai is one of the souls being given back to the ocean. Watching her casket drift into the waves, Han whispers a broken apology for failing her, but then, the wildest plot twist hits. Deep underwater, Bai's skin sparks with a glowing blue energy. Her eyes snap open and a creepy little bug crawls straight out of her mouth. Nobody on the surface has a clue that she just resurrected. Fast forward to October, and Shutong is checking in, asking Han if his squad hit Tier 3 yet. And Han flexes a nod. Yeah, they made it. Even the rookie Ling Zhen has already ground his way up to the 3rd tier. Plus, Yue just unlocked a whole stash of killer new musical scores, and Han is itching to master every single one down the line. Flashing a sweet smile, Sighting practically begs Han to lock in a contract with her the second her powers officially awaken. But Han keeps it 100, dropping the hard truth he only binds with divine tier spirits, since they bring the absolute ultimate firepower to the table. Hearing that reality check, Sighting crosses her fingers, praying she hits the jackpot and awakens a god tier attribute. Now that Han has smashed his way into the 3rd tier, Shutong hits him with the facts playing it safe in the backline cities won't teach him squat anymore. The master locks eyes with him, asking what his next move is. Without missing a beat, Han makes it crystal clear he wants to push his limits and grind to the absolute top. Catching that hungry vibe, Shutong promises to hit up Wei and secure a chopper drop straight into the brutal front lines for some hardcore leveling up. Word on the street is the 1st district is gearing up for the final massive bloodbath of the year against the insect swarms. Talk about perfect timing. But Shutong drops a bomb. This isn't some cozy group training trip, meaning Ling Zhen and Yue are sitting this one out. Han is flying solo. Shutong insists he has a custom high-tier training setup waiting specifically for the girls. Trusting the process, Han gives his master the green light, totally down for whatever chaotic ride comes. Cut to the bleeding edge of the battlefield, a battered squad led by a gritty dude named Xiao Ya is taking absolute massive damage, dropping like flies. Tensions are skyrocketing into a full-blown screaming match right as Han's military chopper touches down in the dirt. Stepping out of the roaring dust storm, Han casually strolls up to Xiaoya to drop his intro. He coolly announces himself as the fresh blood assigned to hold down the line with their crew. Xiaoya does a double take, totally thrown off that Han showed up empty-handed without a contract spirit hovering behind him. Instantly triggered, the captain explodes, barking in Han's face and asking if he just flew out here with a death wish. Zhang, a fellow squad leader trying to keep the peace, immediately jumps in begging Xiaoya to take a chill pill. He tries to gas Han up, swearing this kid isn't just some fragile rookie. Zhang points out Han's crisp, spotless drip, a dead giveaway that this guy just dropped in straight from the wealthy inner city. But that observation just adds fuel to the fire, making Xiaoya feel like Command treats his brutal squad like a babysitting service for rich kids. In his book, shiny nobles are nothing but walking liabilities that get good soldiers killed. After a quick heated tug-of-war over who has to babysit the new guy, Xiaoya angrily sighs and orders Han to tag along and meet the remaining survivors. Trekking through the camp, they trade brief stats with Xiaoya flexing that he is a battle-hardened Tier 4 awakened. A few steps later, they hit the squad's dusty outpost where the captain points out Shifang and Xiao Qian, Han's new brothers in arms. Xiao Qian doesn't waste a single second shooting her shot, instantly teasing Han to come over and peel off her heavy coat. Once she finishes playfully roasting him, she pivots to the captain, guessing that Han's contracted spirit might just be lurking in a materialized hidden state. Unfazed by the chaos, Han drops his official intro to the battered squad. With a smooth smirk, he announces he didn't show up empty-handed and packed a little care package for him. Out of thin air, he yanks ultra-rare Tier 6 armor straight from his void storage and tosses it to the squad, dropping their jaws to the literal floor. Shifang and Xiao Qian absolutely lose their minds hyping up the gear, but Xiaoya stubbornly waves it off, flexing that a hardcore mech operator doesn't need basic plating. Secretly, though, the captain's mind is racing, trying to calculate exactly which overpowered billionaire family this kid crawled out of. Playing it cool, Xiaoya storms off to secure their mission payloads, barking at the rest of them to gear up immediately. The second the boss is out of earshot, Han turns and asks if the grumpy captain actually pilots massive mechs for a living. The duo nods hard, spilling that his spirit is literally hardwired for mechanized warfare, letting him command heavy metal titans from a sniper's distance. But they warn Han the guy has a massive chip on his shoulder and absolutely despises entitled elites who play pretend soldiers. The words barely leave their mouths before they realize Han screams insanely wealthy elite, prompting a quick, awkward apology from Xiao Qian. A beat later, Xiaoya kicks the door back open, growling that playtime is over and the deadly op starts right now. Hiking into the brutal war zone, Han questions the objective, and the captain doesn't sugarcoat it. This is a pure, unadulterated wipeout mission. He breaks down the nightmare fuel that is the Izanami Serpent Clan, a terrifying horde that multiplies at an absolutely sickening speed. Thanks to that glitch-level spawning rate, their frontline reinforcements wash over the battlefield. That exact insane swarm tactic has kept the human forces locked in a brutal, bloody stalemate against the Serpent's heavy hitters. That is until Wei crashed onto the scene a month ago and completely shattered the deadlock with raw, overwhelming power. Wei went completely rogue, spearheading the assault solo. He literally pulverized those ancient barricades with his bare knuckles and slashed right through the Izanami Serpent Clan's reinforcement pipeline, completely flipping the script on this turf war. His sudden flex totally blindsided the snakes, but the hype didn't last. 4 heavy-hitting Tier 8 Serpent Emperors crashed the party to jump him. The massive clash dragged into a totally different zone. Turns out this whole operation was ordered straight from District 2, and their primary objective is to wipe out every single serpent nest breeding in this sector. Approaching the drop zone, Xiaoya suits up in his heavy mech armor. Almost instantly, they stumble upon a colossal discarded snakeskin, sending shivers down their spines. Xiaoya drops a terrifying fact whenever the Izanami clan levels up. They shed their scales. Suddenly, Han spikes their adrenaline, warning them that these vipers actually stash their spawn deep inside the husk. Right on cue, glowing eggs start raining down from the hollow shell. Scanning his tactical display, Xiaoya realizes they are dealing with a 6,000-meter husk packed with billions of parasitic eggs. Without warning, the pods rupture. A deafening sonic boom and kinetic shockwave rip through the cavern. The blast violently launches Xiaoya over the edge, while the rest of the crew collapses in agony, clutching their bleeding ears. In a wild, unhinged move, Han dives straight into the abyss after him, free-falling. Xiaoya shrieks at his teammate, begging him to stick to the mission and let him drop. But Han isn't about to entertain that nonsense. He aggressively snags Xiaoya's heavy mech frame midair, launching him straight back up to the cliff's edge, demanding an immediate evac. Crashing onto solid ground, Xiaoya is utterly mind-blown by Han's insane raw power. The remaining duo frantically tell their captain that Han is totally done for, considering that drop was basically bottomless. Xiaoya drops to his knees, completely drowning in guilt. But then a bloodied hand violently grips the ledge. Han barks at the squad to haul him up right now, making it crystal clear he refuses to kick the bucket today. The duo furiously hoists him over the edge, absolutely losing it over his survival. But Xiaoya immediately goes off on him, grilling him on whether throwing away his life was really worth risking their entire operation. The captain fiercely reminds him that the mission takes priority over everything. Han just smirks, snapping a crisp salute. Reality instantly crashes back down. Every single egg has cracked wide open, unleashing a suffocating ocean of venomous vipers. Xiaoya shouts for defensive formations, but Shifang and Xiao Qian are already accepting their grim fate. The deafening hiss of a billion fangs paralyzes the squad. Staring at the writhing swarm, the lady calculates the odds, realizing there is zero chance of making it out alive. Out of nowhere, Han thrusts his hand forward. A blinding golden energy shield erupts from his ring. The sheer dominance of its aura instantly suffocates the swarm, halting their frenzied assault dead in its tracks. Even wilder, the monstrous serpents literally bow their heads in submission, leaving the squad absolutely paralyzed. Light them up, Han roars at his captain, urging him to strike while the swarm is stunned. Xiaoya doesn't hesitate for a second. He unleashes a hellish barrage of artillery, turning the entire horde into charred ash. Once the smoke clears, the squad interrogates Han, demanding to know what kind of sorcery he just pulled. Han plays it cool, claiming he merely flexed a high-tier artifact to spook the beasts. The squad is completely starry-eyed. Xiaoya corners Han, demanding his real identity, knowing damn well this guy operates on a totally different wavelength than those spoiled elites. With a casual shrug, Han brushes it off, insisting he's just a basic Tier 3, awakened with nothing special under the hood. Suddenly, a frantic red he grimly reports that the other units are getting completely massacred out there in the field. Because barely anyone survived the objective, he outright confesses their squad would be rotting right now if Han hadn't hard-carried them. Seeing as Han practically owns these reptiles, Xiaoya spots a massive opportunity, believing they could easily choke point the remaining swarm and exterminate them. But Han's face suddenly drops into dead serious panic. He furiously snaps at the crew, warning them that if they don't dip right this second, they'll be the ones getting brutally erased. From the shadows, a colossal, nightmarish rank 5 monstrosity slithers into the fray. And this apex predator is absolutely raging hellbent on protecting its breeding grounds. While Xiaoya and the duo are frozen stiff in pure terror, Han is already booking it out of there at top speed. Glancing back and seeing them planted like statues, he screams at the top of his lungs, telling them to move their asses. Snapping back to reality, the duo realizes there is zero chance they can solo this beast. Without a second thought, the whole squad spins around and sprints for their lives. Xiaoya plays the hero, holding the line to buy them time. He unleashes a massive energy wave straight at the monster. Big mistake. The beast just gets enraged, snapping its massive jaws shut and completely crushing Xiaoya and his entire mech suit like a tin can. It brutally spits out the wreckage. The other two absolutely freeze, traumatized after watching their captain get entirely wrecked. Paralyzed by pure terror, they do not even notice the predator slithering right on top of them. Its massive jaws snap down, aiming for a double kill. But out of absolutely nowhere, a blazing energy dome erupts around them, tanking the fatal bite. They literally thought it was game over. Trembling, the realization finally hits them. It is the defensive gear Han hooked them up with earlier. Their hype does not last even a second. The monster hurls a wave of toxic acid that instantly melts right through the barrier. In the blink of an eye, the two are tragically reduced to piles of black ash. Han watches his squad get obliterated, his blood completely running cold. The monster locks its glowing eyes on him next. Knowing it is do or die, Han grips his weapon, ready to go all out. The beast lunges forward like a freight train. At the very last millisecond, Han backflips out of the strike zone. Its fangs smash into the dirt, cratering the ground. Furious, the serpent immediately recoils, launching itself right back at him. Death is literally inches away. But suddenly, a massive blade drops from the sky, absolutely obliterating the monster's skull. Han is left completely stunned. He stares at the gore, wondering who on earth just casually one-tapped a Tier 5 boss monster. An insanely gorgeous woman gently floats down to the ground. Quickly realizing she just saved his life, Han respectfully bows his head. The mysterious savior, Gongyang Jin, immediately flirts with him, complimenting his looks. But she drops a bombshell. She is not from the Great Xia. Jin smirks, revealing she actually hails from the City of Extreme Evil, a notoriously dark zone that most people call the Land of Exile. It is an infamous name whispered among the elite. Han blanks for a second at the name. But as the gears turn in his head, the terrifying realization clicks. She is talking about the deadly lower district. He is internally freaking out. Jin is walking around with an insanely broken SSS rank talent, and her power level sits at a terrifying Tier 8. In a literal flash, she teleports right behind him, whispering in his ear. She demands to know the name of the track he was playing, claiming it completely supercharged her cells. That music was the exact buff she needed to instantly execute the beast. Without missing a beat, Jin announces she is kidnapping him back to her turf. She wants him as her personal exclusive combat support. Panicking, Han practically scrambles backward, begging her to hold her horses. But her playful vibe vanishes. Jin glares at him, deeply offended that a weak Tier 3 rookie has the nerve to reject her. Staring her down, Han insists he is not going anywhere. He still has an active mission to finish. Jin challenges him, asking what he could possibly do if she drags him away by force. Without hesitating, Han presses a sharp blade right against his own throat. He looks her dead in the eye, promising he will slice his own neck before letting that happen. Stunned by his hardcore bluff, Jin backs off a bit. She sighs, asking if he expects her to just tag along then. Han can easily read the room. She is totally obsessed with him. His brain goes into overdrive, realizing he can absolutely use this overpowered ally to his advantage. She is the perfect cheat code to help him clear his objective. Lowering his weapon, Han strikes a deal. He agrees to follow her into the abyss, but only if she plays by his rules first. She has to help him absolutely wipe out the fresh Izanami bug swarm infesting the war zone. Jin rolls her eyes, but instantly accepts the terms. Honestly, she fully expected her new toy to make some crazy demand anyway. Han pulls up the holographic map marking the exact kill zones. Smirking, she flexes that clearing those out will be an absolute breeze. But without warning, a sickening pitch-black aura violently bursts from her spine. Her entire demeanor shifts as she suddenly screams at Han. She begs him to run for his life, warning that her mind is instantly snapping. The heavy demonic energy suffocates the air. But instead of bailing out like a sane person, Han steps right up. He blasts her with a bright wave of purifying. Gasping for air, Jin finally regains her sanity. Trembling, she asks if he just saved her from the madness. Han just shrugs it off. He smoothly tells her it was no big deal, just a minor trick up his sleeve. Han points out the nasty scar on her back. Looking down, Jin drops some heavy lore, admitting a god-level Tier 9 insect emperor gave her that wound. She barely survived the encounter, but the monster permanently cursed her flesh. The lingering poison creeping through her veins can literally hijack her brain, turning her into a mindless slaughter machine. Hearing this, a shiver runs down Han's spine as he finally realizes just how insanely broken a Tier 9 threat truly is. Han locks eyes with her, asking if he can inspect that nasty gash. She instantly hits him with the side eye, thinking he's just being a creep, but eventually caves. Getting up close and personal, Han drops the bad news. The gash is gnarly, but totally fixable. Han instantly flexes his signature move, sparking up his overpowered healing aura. Pure euphoria rushes through Jin's veins the second it hits. Han pulls back, letting her know he's temporarily frozen the demonic corruption, but completely wiping it out, not happening yet. Han pivots, pitching a wild idea. It's time to fire up the mystical cauldron. Jin's jaw practically hits the floor. She realizes this absolute madman is casually rocking double spirit contracts. Han incinerates the artifact's stored energy, funneling a blinding surge of pure power straight into Jin's corrupted flesh. The sheer intensity of the rush absolutely overloads her senses, nearly knocking Jin out cold once again. Cutting off the flow, Han warns her they are only at the 50% mark. Jin, totally hooked, practically begs him to run it back, chasing that insane high. Han immediately shuts it down, revealing his tank is completely dry. He's burnt through his innate limits. He literally had to leech the life force out of hundreds of dead bugs just to scrape that energy together. He drops the harsh truth: if she wants round 3, they need to slaughter a massive mountain of fresh monsters to harvest their blood. Knowing Han's hit list features the deadly Izanami Serpent Clan, Jin physically snatches him up and launches them skyward, eager to speedrun the absolute slaughter. Meanwhile, cut back to Command Central. Lin and the top brass are glued to the monitors, tracking the frontline chaos through live drone feeds. Pure panic is setting in. They realized way too late that the unhatched serpent eggs are sitting on a ticking timer, spelling absolute disaster. Lin connects the dots. The bug swarm is playing mind games, aggressively baiting their top-tier fighters into a massive death trap. He screams for a total lockdown, absolutely zero deployments. Meanwhile, boots hit the dirt as Han and Jin crash land right into the hot zone. Jin is literally about to go full berserker on the reptiles, but Han physically blocks her. He claims dibs on the first strike. Jin questions if he's actually lost his mind, but Han simply launches himself into the Viper Pit, smirking that he's got the math perfectly calculated. Jin genuinely respects the absolute unhinged lunacy. Han plummets like a damn meteor, pulverizing the Vipers into bloody paste without an ounce of mercy. The surveillance cam locks onto his rampage. HQ absolutely loses their collective minds seeing one solo kid tearing up the vanguard. They instantly write him off as dead meat. And just as a massive tidal wave of fangs swarms him to finish the job, Jin enters the chat. She comes in totally clutch, vaporizing the entire ambush with a single, earth-shattering blast. She turns the battlefield into an absolute slaughterhouse, while Han plays the ultimate tactical wingman from the backline. With Jin aggressively holding down the fort, Han completely shatters his limits, ascending straight into his Tier 3 awakened state. A terrifying new arsenal of skills awakens within him, and he eagerly uses the monster horde as his personal crash test dummies. The sheer catastrophic damage output Han unleashes leaves even a hardened killer like Jin absolutely speechless. Back at base, the brass finally zooms in on Jin, and their blood runs cold as immediate recognition hits. Flashback to 30 days ago, she went toe-to-toe with Wei and his wife, nearly wiping the floor with them before they totally banked on her leaving the territory. Seeing her high-definition rampage proves they were dead wrong. The absolute nightmare scenario, she has officially teamed up with their wildcard Han. Fast forward a bit, and the dynamic duo stands over a mountain of slithering corpses, the area completely purged. Han smirks, pointing at the carnage. He announces his healing engine is totally ready to reboot by draining the fresh biomass scattered everywhere. Firing up the process, Han floods her system once again. Jin violently shudders, caught in an insane crossfire of agonizing burning and intoxicating relief. Suddenly, Han spots a sinister jet-black spike buried deep in the gash. He pauses, asking for the green light to rip it out or leave it be. Jin aggressively tells him to yank that garbage out right now. Han grips it and pulls instantly, detonating a colossal shockwave of pitch-black demonic aura straight out of her core.